Right before the All-Star break, he'll push for the midseason bracket in the heavy part of the season, travels to the one place where the stakes get larger, and a duel with Texas awaits. We're live from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway and the Lone Star State. The KBueno Racing Network welcomes you to coverage of race number 8 in the SAAC Cup Series for season number 4. Welcome to Texas, welcome to the Lone Star State, welcome to another trip to a mile and a half. We're happy to have you join us again on a great Thursday night, wishing you a warm welcome. We're in the broadcast booth on the KBueno Racing Network side of things. Alongside Francisco Bacallao, I am Kenneth Bueno. Well, hello everyone, we step into a brand new part of the season. We are just about 1 week away from the All-Star break kicking in. Not too far away, the virtual Kentucky Speedway, but Francisco, another trip to a mile and a half may bring us some new storylines, potentially a new winner. Throughout the last several weeks, we have seen very different shifts of the tide, from Dahari winning at Vegas to Rivers Jones theoretically winning Indianapolis and then getting his win DQ'd, giving it to Moreno, and then AJ Hyder just finally getting through the ceiling and winning his first ever SAAC Cup Series race at Iowa. We joined Texas with a very interesting look at the season right before the mid-season madness bracket, to which this race will decide.
Yeah, you're happy to be back at the Texas Motor Speedway, Kenneth, and we got some great stuff coming up in this series before we get into the playoffs. This will be obviously the second time that we've covered a mid-season challenge type. We've seen this before in 4-wide this most recent season, and one of the later rounds was held here at the Texas Motor Speedway, which provided great racing. We hope to see that here. We do start the bracket over at Portland after the All-Star race, and we run for 4 races, which are the final 4 before our playoff run. I believe that tonight is how the field gets set up. I'm not too sure on the format for setting up the positions and the rankings and all that myself, but I'm sure that tonight will play a huge role in just that very thing.
It's one race that really will tell the storyline for the next couple of months leading into that eliminator chase that'll bring us to a champion at the end of the season. Francisco, how big is this Texas Motor Speedway race going to be? Obviously, another mile and a half prickled in the middle of a season filled with lots of questions after the next gen update. What is it about Texas that'll really stand out for the drivers as they push into tonight's event?
Yeah, ever since the recent update, Texas Motor Speedway is a lot freer. You're going to run a lot looser of a race car, aero packing, or air griefing, as some people like to call it as of late. It can really negatively affect your race, so you got to be careful, especially in 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You're running wide open a lot faster than you did before, and the car could just step away at any moment, so you have to make sure you keep track of that. The tires are going to wear a lot, especially if we run in the daylight, but they do so more now than before the update. And you just look at the mile and a half racetracks, they're going to have plenty of those still in the second half of the season left to go for some critical races. Homestead should be the finale of the mid-season challenge event, so that's going to be very important in regards to mile and a halves. Darlington opens the playoffs. You look at the second to last race of the regular season, that's Chicagoland, which is the second to last race of the season, and that's going to be another mile and a half racetrack before the finale at Auto Club. So these intermediate mile and a half racetracks, Kenneth, they're very carefully placed at these critical points on the schedule. Always performing on these types of racetracks are going to be key for championship runs.
Frankly, you can count them on your fingers, Francisco. Only 2 mile and a half races remain after tonight's event from Texas Motor Speedway. So for those who are very familiar with this style of track and like this style of racing, they won't have many opportunities left if you're going to try and go at a championship later this season. But last week, we were at the virtual Iowa Speedway, brand new repaved corners, brand new look on the iRacing service, and boy, did it bring us a beautiful sight to the green flag, where at the beginning of this race, it was all Gabriel Dahari in search of his second career SAAC Cup Series victory. He set the tone early. Him and Austin Dorn would lead a bulk of the race, but a lot of the beginning portions of this event were triggered by lots of yellows. Michael Walls going sideways off turn 4, many harmless spins, including this one, but then many harmful incidents. Sonoma winner Connor Trafari outside 4 wide. That's not going to be a hit that the team would like. Expense-wise, they're going to have to repair their car and get it ready for tonight's race from Texas. But Francisco, lots of the cautions brought us under the yellow flag many times, and that didn't really shake up the strategy too much. Another contact here, Travis Van Oostendorp, Gino Mero, but it kept Dahari at the front until this very moment. Fresh tires for AJ Hyder. He would look to the inside, and that's where he would never look back.
AJ Hyder finally able to win his first race of this season. Had a couple of really good runs earlier on, and after the battle with Gabriel and a couple late restarts in this race, he would finally take home that crown. But you see right here, trouble for the number 17 in turn 2, which would set us up late in this race for plenty more of chaos. There's the 21, Amir Bascombe, having a great save, and then hard into the outside wall, because I believe that's Nicholas Baumann.
And Nicholas Baumann with a hard hit, he would be out of the race. Steven Maggio would come away to lead this thing under strategy, but AJ Hyder had this phenomenal restart, point to the inside, and that's where he would take the lead right back from the 51 car who thought he had a chance of the win. Then Dahari, who was all the way back in traffic, got the dealing blow to send him out of contention for the win. Wiggled out of turn 4, a couple cars got involved in that, and Dahari was basically ruled out of contention to win. This was one of the final restarts. It took us only one attempt at overtime to extend this race, or multiple attempts rather, to end the race under green, and it was AJ Hyder crossing the line first. Finally, after several back-to-back podium finishes and many close calls to run for the win, he finally is able to call himself a winner in the SAAC Cup Series after a very long while. So good news for AJ Hyder. He puts himself in victory lane. He puts himself at a chance to get right into that eliminator chase format, to which I guess over the couple of starts he's had this season has already been quite good for him. He's going to try to run for that championship and try to get another win, this time back-to-back from Texas Motor Speedway. We've had great races on the KBueno Racing Network since we picked up this SAAC Cup Series in, what was it, race 3 of the campaign at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's give you a bit of a recap as to how things have unfolded over the last month and a half or so. Woo! Final charge in 3 and 4. Moreno is there, off of turn 4. Moreno breaks through, and for the second consecutive race, Moreno wins, this time from Charlotte.
Yeah, that was close. I was hoping that he wouldn't pull anything crazy and like just wreck me or something, which he was really respectful there. I appreciate that a lot. That was a fun battle.
Close. My shit turned you inside out. I heard the feds turned the crib inside out.
Now 7 car lengths separate these two machines with 4 laps remaining. It is all jackpot for Gabriel Dahari. Stands tall at Las Vegas. First career SAAC Cup Series victory.
I was just trying super hard to get past him there, and thankfully for me, I was able to get past him.
He holds on through the overtime restart, and for the second time in his SAAC Cup Series career, welcome to victory lane, Rivers Jones. He wins at Indianapolis. Jones disqualified Moreno, the winner from Indy. AJ Hyder breaks through to win at Iowa.
Fresh Prince jacket, boy, I cook them to the inside out.
Lots of highlights over the short course of this Season 4 SAAC Cup Series campaign. There's a look at all the different winners that we've seen so far in 2025. Hyder becoming that most recent, of course, at the virtual Iowa Speedway. But so far, Francisco, it's all about who can stop Ethan Fonseca Moreno. That Indianapolis win didn't come in the way that he would have expected it to. It was via a disqualification from the race winner in Rivers Jones, who would have had that win. But it's 3 for Moreno, who's already putting himself well above the weight of everyone else in the run for this current point season championship. Could very well see another different winner here at Texas, to which it's another mile and a half where a lot of drivers, especially in the warm-up and practice sessions, have been strong to take down Moreno and the other driver who's won in Dahari at this type of venue.
Yeah, absolutely. Moreno could still be, he is the favorite according to the Shoei Sportsbook tonight, so you might want to look at those odds and see who you want to pick for tonight's race. Here's a look at it, presented by Mr. Alex Schumacher. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, 3 wins on the season, the winner at Charlotte. Of course, he's going to be the favorite. Defending champ Steven Maggio's up there as well. You get a look at a couple other drivers that are amongst some of the favorites, including some previous race winners. So if you see someone without that checkered flag and you think that they're going to hit, go ahead and place your bets here. There are the odds on the right side. And I don't know, Kenneth, it's tough for me to to really say who's going to win. Texas is such a wild card now with after this update. It could very well be someone like a Steven Maggio who has not gone to victory yet this season. He's driving for the GOAT Motorsports Inc. team. He could very well take his first win of the season. We saw him run well at Charlotte, and he's done well at these mile-and-a-half racetracks. So keep an eye out for the defending champ Steven Maggio tonight.
He'll try to look for a first win. He's been rather close over the last several weeks, so he'll try and beat the competition, but a lot of work to do as the field will take behind the iRacing official pace car. Gonna say the opposite of Beyonce here and say this is Texas. There will be some hold'em for sure. Let's get down to the track side and give you tonight's starting grid for race 8 of the Season 4 SAAC Cup Series, where for the second consecutive week, it's Gabriel Dehari on the front row on the pole. 29.393 for the driver trying to win it all again. Andretti Robinson in the 45 car, strong over the last several races, still looking for that typical first win. He's going to try and get it from the outside of row number 1 to the green flag. Ethan Fonseca Moreno going to roll from third. AJ Hyder back in P4 from last week's winner at Iowa, back in row 3. Brian Lorenzo and Michael Walls will bring us to top 6 before Donovan David and Larry Miles will bring us 7th and 8th on the starting grid. And rounding out the top 10, Jason Ratchcock, Malachi Drake, who was one spot short of a win at a mile-and-a-half earlier this season from Charlotte.
Justin Rott will be in the 11th spot. Alongside him is Amir Bascom in the number 21. 13th will go to Nicholas Badimlik in the number 60 with James Thurston in the number 4 Machine. Christopher Robinson will be rolling off from the 15th spot with Nathaniel Tallman in the number 54. He's going to be in 16th with Ollie Reeves down in that 17th spot outside Brandon Thomas of row number 9. Rounding out your top 20 will be the 25 of Shockey Tarpley, and Jonathan Jurgensmeyer will be in the 20th position.
Back in 21st is where you'll find BBR's Nicholas Bauman trying to avenge himself after the huge crash at Iowa last week. Wyatt Roberts in the 42 car going to be outside in 22nd. 23rd is where you'll find the 38 of Jamie Wright alongside the Port Huron, Michigan native Alexander Schumacher. 24th is where he'll reside at the green flag with Ellis Wells and Gabe Cazzola inside and outside of row 13 back to 26. Duncan Fall going to be 27th. Connor Trafari back in 28th place. Fidel Fabian making his first start in the 29th spot. Trevor Haley going to be on his outside to round out the current top 30 to the green flag. It's a huge field tonight.
Yeah, Connor Zola will be in 31st with Brad Sawinski in the 32nd position. 33rd goes to league owner Cody Riveras with Jared Wilson, the number 23, down in 34th. 35th will be going to Traver Burns in the 02 with Rivers Jones, who thought he won Indianapolis. He'll try to gate that here in 36th. 37th goes to Nicholas Borowski in the number 39 with Declan George down in the 38th spot. James Bomar does not set a qualifying lap. He'll be rolling off 30th. Here's to Steven Maggio. He has a long way to go from 40th in tonight's field, which I believe rounds out our 40-car grid. We have a max field out here, Kenneth Bueno. Actually, we include also Quincy Strawhacker, who's down in the 41st spot. 41 drivers for tonight's race. Unreal.
It's a big lineup, and it's typical to what we've seen over the course of this Season 4 SAAC Cup Series schedule. Charlotte had a field that had to be condensed past 45 drivers. Iowa had a big field spread. Indianapolis had a solid field, and the races continue to big fields, big numbers that we've seen. A lot of attrition as well. Hopefully not the same case tonight as we take on Texas Motor Speedway. This is only the second ever SAAC Cup Series visit to this Texas Motor Speedway venue. Last time we were here back in Season 2 where Ollie Reeves found victory lane, but it's Las Vegas winner Gabriel Dehari and Andretti Robinson that will lead us to the green flag for the first time tonight. Green away, we're underway from Texas.
A couple of cars already on that opening lap got the outside wall off of turn 2, and we will see that plenty of times this evening as the night goes on, as the runs go on, and already a yellow flag waves. Trouble in the back. Looks like possibly the 32 Rivers Jones, a couple other cars could be involved here.
Our first yellow flies, and it's all the way at the back. James Bomar, I believe Declan George, Traver Burns might have had a piece of it. And the yellow flies only on the first completed lap of the race. This is what we've seen over the last several weeks. Big fields, lots of anti-jitters right before the green flag, and therefore lots of carnage when you have that many cars packed into such a small piece of real estate. Trevor Burns has some front end damage. That's a very particular paint scheme that we'll dive into tonight. And there's Burns' number 02 Toyota Camry. He gets involved in the crash with some damage as we push forward after our first completed lap of the race. So here's a look at how it all unfolded. This is in the middle of the pack on the back straightaway. That blue and yellow number 02 car is of the main focus. Either he got tagged, right? Yeah, he just got tagged. Cody Riveras, and then a hard hit to the outside wall right about where Brad Sawinski was. That's car number 28, who finds a piece of the outside barrier just as he was trying to get away from it. But Francisco 3 wide, very hard to make work at that very fast turn 3 and 4 section of the racetrack. And just about when you thought everyone was clear, Trevor Burns and Sawinski bring out the first yellow.
Especially while we're still on these cold tires, so you gotta let everybody kind of get in a rhythm, work it out with these 40-plus cars on the racetrack, and just kind of ease on into it. And eventually, you can start making these 3, maybe even 4 wide moves. How about Michael Walls, though, in that short opening lap of the race, got into the top 5. Michael Walls yesterday finished second in the slide job iRacing Funny 250. Came up short of the win to a good pal of ours that we haven't not talked to in a good while, Mr. Bridger Olson, who ended a 6-season winless streak. So a couple of good runs here for Michael Walls as of late, looking to try and get some positive momentum on his season.
And a driver that struggled a bit at Iowa last week, fell into a spin early on to bring out one of our first yellows of the event, and slowly picked it up until, obviously, all those cautions got the worst of it. But great news for Michael Walls, and still cool to see that Bridger Olson is kicking around. We also remember that huge win that he captured in the 200 back in the iRacing Bungeon Lawn Care Series days. That was a big-time win for the EO Media Racing team that we were a part of many, many years ago, and such a highlight moment, highlight broadcast of the KBueno Racing Network. But just like Steven Maggio did in the early stages of Iowa, Michael Walls setting the tone early, putting that pace in to good use. As the choose cone will come into effect, drivers will go back to side-by-side action, and we'll try to get the green flag here at lap number 5. But as we're looking across the field, different colors, lots of the same for some drivers like AJ Hyder and company, but for many others, very different looks, unique to tonight's race. That's because this race is video game themed, so you'll see a lot of the drivers in the field with many different colors and schemes, tributing various different video games that either they grew up playing or games that they just enjoy playing. Outside of row 1 is where you'll find Andretti Robinson. That's a Halo 3 inspired car. Beautiful Ford Mustang, and the rest will follow as we dive further into the race order and the drivers that are all across this Texas Motor Speedway field. Lots of different video games on representation. So we'll start to throw it back, maybe get our bit of thoughts in on our favorite video games. But until then, we'll try and reset and go back to green flag racing with Gabriel Dahari at the front of this field. This is what he saw at Iowa last week. Led a ton of the laps until AJ Hyder took control and never relinquished that control. Dahari will keep up the field as they enter back to turn 1.
See if we can get more than one green flag lap on this restart. They had an initial launch to kind of work with, try to get the tires a little bit up to temperature. So we'll see now with Gabriel Dahari with proper control of this restart. We'll see what he's able to do compared to the 45 of Andretti Robinson into the Geico restart zone. They're underway. Dahari gets clear immediately. Looks like a little bit of a struggle further back for Donovan David or Justin Rott on that inside lane, which allows Rashcock and Lorenzo to go to the inside, but it's going to be Ethan Fonseca clearing Robinson for second. He slides up on corner exit, has to be careful not to get himself loose, but Robinson has a bit of a moment there. Michael Walls looking to make a move for third.
And trying to find a way to the inside is AJ Hyder. You saw him switching lines, deciding whether he would go with Robinson or follow in the track of Walls. He stays to the bottom. He'll peek to the inside of Robinson. Battle for what about? It's going to be 4th place, exiting back to turn 1. As Michael Walls will make his way to 3rd place, a wonderful run. And Moreno, who stepped into the top 3 in those winning laps of overtime at the virtual Iowa Speedway last Thursday night, he's already picking up off that momentum, sliding that Mission Chevrolet Camaro right into the top 3 as they slide back to the 3rd corner. Hyder's going to point down that Chevrolet and try to point it under that Ford Mustang, but great momentum for the Halo 3 car. Stays up there, top of the outside wall. The battle for 4th continues back to turn 1.
Battling for 4th, and right now it's Robinson able to hang on in the outside, and right here, it could be very tricky with the dirty air. We'll see as this run goes on how these drivers handle it, but they're continuing to stay side by side, and that could possibly eventually invite that one car of Brian Lorenzo to try and catch up and battle for this 4th position. We see actually there, that's a great run on the outside going into turn 3 for Robinson. He gets to the outside of Michael Walls. He'll carry some momentum possibly down this front straightaway in hopes of moving up to 3rd.
Several top 10s for Robinson this season. One of those coming at the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, our last mile-and-a-half affair that we had this season. So Robinson been doing a solid job getting week in and week out consistent finishes, and this time completing that long-term move on Michael Walls. Just got a big squirrely there on the inside of 1 and 2, and Robinson slides his way back to 3rd, playing that heavy defense on AJ Hyder, last week's race winner. Good job as they single out through the top 5, and as we push forward back to turn 1. A lot of fighting though in the middle of this middle end group. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer running 17th right now. And a good battle in front. Shockey Tarpley, Christopher Robinson. That's another Halo-inspired paint scheme, by the way, on the inside, that fellow Ford Mustang, as he riding on board with the 00.
And I'll tell you, someone who's on the move right now, just picking him up left and right, is the 15 of James Bomar. He did not pit under that caution, but he has been really moving up through this field, has already worked his way up into 19th. Reminder, he started in the 39th position, so he has passed 20 cars in the opening 10 laps of this race.
About how important it's going to be track position, most notably, especially at the last 2 venues of Indy and Iowa. 2 racetracks that, with this new update, the driver base has reacted in the sense that they're telling us it's almost impossible to make passes on the racetrack unless you have a mistake by a driver in front of you, or you just have that much better of a skill set compared to the driver that you're fighting against. And so back at this Texas Motor Speedway, where it will be tough to pass, but definitely is more widespread in the abilities to use these different lanes, Francisco. You're already seeing it right there. Amir Bascom not afraid to take it way up to the outside wall in the entry of 1 and 2, and he's still getting good runs up there, with Shockey Tarpley getting back down to the inside. It's more a case of finding your lane and finding where the grip is going to be in this nighttime surface. And I think for the drivers that they're welcoming this mile-and-a-half track at Texas Motor Speedway. I don't think they were having too much fun at the last 2 venues, where it's usually at the bottom, chase for it, and try to gain track position in any other way possible.
Yeah, definitely the news of what the line the 15 was running made headway, because that's exactly the kind of line he's been running since the start of this race. He's moved up to about the middle high end of the racetrack, and he is making moves. Bomar now to the inside of Ellis Wells for the 17th spot, so a little bit further back up this shot is the Minecraft number 15 machine, and he is picking him up and putting him down. And this is so different compared to the Drop in the Hammer race here a couple of weeks ago, Kenneth, which was under the sunlight with extreme track temperatures of 120, almost 130 degrees. It was mostly around that bottom, saving the tire, some big time tire wear. Look at the right side of your screen, 88 degrees. Pretty warm, but with the sun down and with the track lights on, that means that it's going to be high speed, high action.
Only 88 degrees, yeah, it's not a lot, and the wind isn't blowing that hard either, only just about 4 miles an hour to the east. So at Texas, it is very much a cool track temp, and that's where the drivers are going to try to find that grip where it is at the very bottom. Amir Bascom still looking for any sort of entry as Tarpley washes up in 1. This may open the door, potential 3 wide, and it is. Jurgensmeyer to the bottom. Ollie Reeves defending Texas winner on the high side, back to turn 3.
Oh, and there we go. Just able to work that one out with Reeves squeezing ahead of the 25 on the outside of Jurgensmeyer there off of 4. But they remain door to door. We'll see if Tarpley goes with Reeves. He does for now. And just ahead is the number 21 of Amir Bascom, who's maintained from where he has started. So not too much of an improvement right now for the 21. Probably hoping for the opening set of laps to go as green flag as possible, trying to see if the tires eventually wear up for him to be able to move up to the front. And speaking of the front, there is the gap between 1 and 2. AJ Hyder in second with the Charlie Beyer photography on board on the number 48, just over a second behind the race leader. Just behind Hyder is the 45 of Andretti Robinson. Both of these two eventually got past Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who's now losing the spot to James Thurston. So the Thurston able to move up into the 4th spot, Moreno down to 5th, and Michael Walls looks like he's under pressure now from Brian Lorenzo in the number 1 machine. And I think, I could be wrong, Kenneth, but I think that's a paint scheme that he runs possibly due to college football game. I want to say that's because of the 11 colors the legacy he's building in college football? I don't know. I'm just going off based on the fact that that looks like a university car.
Yep, that is the University of Albany, and I don't think they are a FBS college football team. If I am wrong, then someone could immediately correct me in the YouTube chat, but I don't believe that's an FBS school, but it's a gorgeous scheme. And on Video Game Night, you'd think that maybe Lorenzo would go with something else, but he is repping the school pride, and the same for the car in front of Michael Walls, repping the Cleveland Cavaliers like he did just last week at Iowa. So not entirely attuned to the video game theme, but still putting out some great paint schemes that they were probably scheduled to run here at the Fort Worth Texas Motor Speedway. But great job for Lorenzo right now, stepping into the top 7 and already working on Walls, who again fell back to that charging Andretti Robinson, and then of course AJ Hyder, who has already moved his way up to 2nd place. And that car you were looking at momentarily that just stepped into the top 4 is a new driver on the block, James Thurston, a very popular name across the iRacing service. If you watch IDK Players and Our Night in America, you would understand what this name is all about. SRL series, that campaign owned by Alexander Schumacher, one of the drivers in this series. You'll see this James Thurston name, and this is a James Thurston that is very good on iRacing, and you can tell the quickness is already here for Thurston, already nearly a 10th faster than the car in front of Andretti Robinson. He is the fastest car in the top 5 as of lap 19.
And still, Bomar continues to move up to 15th now for himself, and he is caught up quickly to Ollie Reeves, Shockey Tarpley, and that group of characters in front of him. So Bomar clearly has some speed. He's going to be very fast. He hasn't fallen off. You would expect him with how quickly he was moving up that maybe he used up his tires, but here we are a couple laps into this run, and he's still making really good headway, and now he's to the inside of Reeves for the 14th spot. If Bomar gets inside this top 10 and gets a brand new opportunity with a clean restart closer to the front of the field, he could be one to challenge for the front of the field.
And Bomar recently has been expressing a bit of frustration. The Sumter, South Carolinian has told us in the Discord server that he's kind of a little agitated that the last several weeks hasn't gone his way. Several races in which he's been fast, but he's been involved in bad luck, involved in incidents. You know, you can recall that Indianapolis race, an event where he was on the front 3 rows. He had a chance to step into the top 3 and go out and try to win the race, and then Malachi Drake spins off of turn 1, collects not only Bomar, who goes back up the racetrack into the wall, but Steven Maggio and a couple of others. So Bomar feels like there's still some unfinished business here in Season 4 of the SAAC Cup Series, still in that active fight with Ollie Reeves for 14th place. You're looking at it on the right side of your screen.
Oh, and you see there he got loose for a moment, and he was trying to cross over on Reeves, and ultimately Reeves is able to take back the 14th spot. And I hear that, Kenneth, because Bomar, he's a really competitive driver. He has a lot of speed. He is able to win plenty of races out there on the sim. Had a winless season in Slide Job this most recent season, and he's definitely struggled with that. He was so competitive, was able to win multiple races. It just didn't go his way, and even so far this season, it just hasn't exactly been the luck he's wanted to, but definitely if he's able to get a win or have a good run, momentum can stride with Bomar, and he can knock a few in a row.
And still looking for that first win of the 2025 season as he'll step right where the Shockey Tarpley and Ollie Reeves battle continues. Some of the best fighting we're seeing on the racetrack is just right amongst that top 15 or so in the middle of the group. And I just wanted to correct myself. This is the first time that, at least on the KBueno Racing Network, we are seeing the name of James Thurston, but he has been a part of this series before. He used to run back in Season 3 where he ended up with at least a win or so. He picked up a dub at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. So while Thurston is not entirely an unfamiliar name to SAAC Cup Series competition, he is rather new to the Season 4 festivities of it as we continue on. Almost through the grass to the inside. James Bomar taking no prisoners under Ollie Reeves for 13th.
But that could cost them, though, because here comes now Jurgensmeyer on the outside with a huge run. Tarpley could try to follow him through, and you saw it as it was going on. The 15 was trying to go to the inside of, I believe, the 26 of Donovan David, and ultimately that block got him into the grass, and instead of gaining 1 spot, he lost 3 as Tarpley big time loose off of 4. Bomar able to get back by in front of him.
That's the Minecraft machine trying to dig himself out of this hole that he's built a little bit on the outside of turn 1. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, a couple car lengths ahead. That fight will continue for 15th place. And Reeves, the defending Texas Motor Speedway winner, not entirely being conservative here in the opening 26. Has a real fast race car right now. Just stepped right in front of Donovan David. Jurgensmeyer going to plant his car to the outside. And now, Francisco, is where we're seeing that secondary and tertiary lanes start to kick in. It took a little while, maybe 15 or so laps before we saw drivers migrate a little higher, but like Jurgensmeyer, like Bomar, even drivers like Amir Bascom have showed us it is possible to run up there and be fast. Another fantastic push. Jurgensmeyer crossover to the inside. That one's for 12, back to turn 3.
And that's what third place runner James Thurston's doing in 1 and 2. On this previous lap, he went nearly to the very outside. He was in that 4th lane, and he made up nearly 2/10 down the back straightaway alone. And on this lap, he's doing it again. He's going all the way up there, almost looking like the old Texas Motor Speedway from how high up the racetrack he drifts. But he's trying to see if he can run down the leaders. On that last lap, he was quicker than both of them. And looking at this top 5 right now, Ethan Fonseca Moreno starting to put the pressure back on once again onto Andretti Robinson, trying to take back 4th after dropping to 5th. There's Steven Maggio, defending champion in a Mario paint scheme. He's a very big fan of the Mario and Luigi games. His teammate Gabriel Dahari is in a Luigi paint scheme himself. But how about that? They're good friends, and they're basically running duo paint schemes.
And you can't see it right now. Hopefully we can get a good shot at it. And if you look on the deck lid of the race car, it says, "It's a me, Maggio," and it's facing the camera as well. Maggio dug his way up from just about 40th or so on the racetrack when we started this event. There's a car to the inside of the racetrack, right up against the inside wall. Yellow flag comes out for just the 2nd time tonight, and it's Amir Bascom, Jason Radcock, stuck on the inside.
Not good here for the 21. You see the damage to the right side of his car as he gets going in the right direction. We're going to get a second look at this and see exactly what led to this. We have a couple of cars a lap down or so. I'm not quite sure what might have led to some of these cars now being a lap down. And there, oh, Justin Rott had some trouble well before those two arrived on the scene. Clearly nothing specifically happened between those two individually. They got caught up in whatever happened to the 76 of Justin Rott. So there's Rott as he was battling with Michael Walls on the outside, gets loose, and oh man, just overcorrects it hard into the outside wall, and that causes those 3 cars to wreck. And we are working our way onto pit road for the first time tonight.
The leaders are in, followed by Gabriel Dahari, AJ Hyder, James Thurston, the top 3 as they come on in this time by. And how many overcorrections have we seen this season? This next-gen car is as twitchy as ever in comparison to a lot of the other stock car races, stock car classes you'll see on the sim. And so with Iowa, we saw plenty of those, and tonight here at Texas, very much no different. So drivers are on, taking the 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. They're going to try to get their best set possible here, and at Texas, we know the tire wear is prevalent, so of course the drivers will go out for as many tires and fuel as they can get. Quincy Strawhacker is going to stay out, but may not be by design. Dahari will easily win the race off pit road, and Declan George, car number 17, going to stay out here on lap 31. So he's going to try and extend this strategy. He had pitted. He had actually not pitted at all. I think Strawhacker did miss the stall, so he'll be back around a second time.
Yeah, Declan George did not decide to pit under this caution, but Quincy Strawhacker definitely missed the stall. He has a pit lane time, but not a pit stop time, so unfortunately for him in that beautiful GameStop Grand Theft Auto 6 paint scheme, which says right there on the back, coming fall 2025, but clearly that was probably made well before the delay was announced. That is, it's going to be late next year. Great paint scheme, but unfortunately he's probably going to have to come back down pit road to get the service he was looking for on that lap.
Hey, Francisco, you know a thing or two about GameStop paint schemes. If you remember, years ago, you used to run a GameStop car. I don't know if you remember. It was a Gen 6 white, red, and black GameStop car.
Absolutely, yes.
Beautiful. Old time. For old time's sake, that's an OG.
Yes, and shout out to Aiden Kirker, who was the one who made that paint scheme for me.
Aiden Kirker, big-time member of EO Media Racing. He was a huge part of the early days of the KBueno Racing Network. If you watched the Bunch and Lawn Care series, if you watched TRL, if you watched the other series that we broadcasted, LWRC included, Kirker was a huge part of that, as Declan George will give up the track position. He will be at the back end of the longest line, and Strawhacker did eventually come down pit road, so he will give up his track position. Not entirely a call to come down under this yellow flag and stay out actually in front of the leader. So we'll try to get the restart in lap 33. Dahari will choose the outside right in front of the man who beat him last week. AJ Hyder in the 48 car. Quickly, we'll bring in Brad Sawinski, involved in one of our opening cautions of the race. Brad, you got a copy?
That I do.
All right, Brad. Well, just tell us what happened there on that opening instant of the race. I know you picked up some damage. I know you were pretty far back in the field. So what had happened there in the opening segment?
You know, I wish I had a good answer for you. I was, very looking excited for today's race. Had a beautiful NASCAR 06 tribute paint scheme with the modified, and going down to turn 3, I was on the outside, and all of a sudden, Traber got turned, and I had nowhere to go. And unfortunately, I was told by my crew that it was too much damage. So unfortunately, our beautiful car is done for the day.
That's tough to hear. I was just about to talk about that paint scheme, the tribute to NASCAR 06. It's a video game themed night, so a lot of drivers are going to be in schemes that mean a lot to them. How much does that NASCAR 06 scheme mean to you, and how much work did it take to put it together?
It took a little bit of work, trying to find all the nice little, like the bars for the, to make it look like a modified, but, finding the sponsors and all that was fun, and the game means so much to me. It was one of the games I did growing up, and I figured that would be a great scheme for the video game cars.
Well, Brad, we appreciate the time. I know that the luck wasn't necessarily here tonight in Texas, but hopefully things pick back up at the All-Star race next week at the Kentucky Speedway. We'll see you then.
Thank you very much.
So Brad Sawinski in the 28 out of this race very early. Look at that big move by James Thurston. Outside nearly 3 abreast. Moreno down to the inside as they were coming off of turn 2. And the high side favorable for the driver that's coming onto the block for the first time this season. James Thurston trying to search for second. Big run on AJ Hyder down the back straightaway.
Very surprising to see that we're able to use all the way up there here, but I guess the nighttime conditions are making it favorable. Hyder loose there on the outside, tried to hang it in there, and he tags the outside wall, but Thurston able to clear for second as he tries to see if he can chase down our race leader, Gabriel Tahari.
Textbook move by Thurston. He'll go way up to the wall, too eager on the banking, and he'll hit the wall on the way there. And here comes AJ Hyder back for the charge on the inside. Moreno's going to follow, and in turn as well, Andretti Robinson sitting in the top 5.
Icarus too close to the sun there for the 82.
Thurston falls back to third. Look at all this fighting in the middle of this pack as they're coming off of turn 4. And you see a bit of the scratching there on that Ford Mustang. Not entirely going to drive him away. Caution flag, though, raises again for the 3rd time tonight. And once more trouble will dictate the way this race will play out. Some more trouble will figure out exactly where it was by the time that it happened. We will be under arrest from the iRacing official pace car once more. As there was one of the slow cars, I believe it was Christopher Robinson, Jason Ratchcock, with all that damage he picked up from the last yellow flag that came out with the likes of Amir Bascombe, the likes of the spinning car of Justin Rott, and Christopher A. Robinson going to come around, and we'll see if he maybe was a part of the yellow. There was another car to the inside, and I believe it was Nicholas Badimlik. Here's the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Kroger, Ford Mustang. Yep, there is contact indeed. And they're coming off of turn 4.
Looks like the closing rate between Straw Hacker and the 60 gets the 60 turned around off of turn 4. Harmlessly spins through the grass. No damage for either race car, but it will bring out the yellow flag once more. Here's the onboard from Straw Hackers number 49. And you see the 60 had to check up for the corner. You hear Straw Hacker check up, but not expecting that huge moment for the 60 and has nowhere really to go.
Not a lot of damage picked up for Straw Hacker, but for Badimlik, it'll be another week where he's trying to pick himself up from some befallen situations. You know, we remember Straw Hacker's great run at Indianapolis not that long ago that was squandered by a crash late in the going. Nicholas Badimlik being part of some of those big-time late yellows that brought us into that OT restart that helped Rivers Jones stay up at the front alongside Ethan Fonseca Moreno and company. But for both of them, are going to be at the back of the field again in another long list of cars that enter this series. Only 2 DNFs right now, but currently a ton of drivers beneath a lap down, as Declan George 33rd is that final car in the lead lap as we get this yellow flag. And Francisco, it's really interesting to look into the dynamics of aggression, right? With this next-gen car, track position means so much more. So as a driver, how much more pressure does it put on you when you see a field as big as this? You're starting in the back, you're starting and maybe top 35 or maybe beyond that. How much pressure does it get on you as a driver trying to make up all the track position that you don't have if you don't have a good qualifying effort?
Yeah, the tough part is having to make up the track position with the dirty air, and obviously have to worry about air packing. So you have to actually be patient in a way, or at least take the runs where you can. You can't really force it all too much. If you try forcing it, you either get the tires off the car, or you just get yourself into trouble, and you don't want either of those two things. So you have to be a little bit patient, just kind of bide your time, take the gaps when they're there, and then just be patient. Eventually, your speed and your natural pace will get you up there. It will take long, and you want to be there the whole night, but it will get you up there and at least give you an opportunity. So you just have to just wait, be patient, save the tires, and get yourself an opportunity. Otherwise, you're never going to have a chance.
And one of those guys who hasn't really struggled with qualifying all that much is Ethan Fonseca Moreno. We saw him and his teammate Jaden Porter move through the field quite swimmingly at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That was a lot of fun to watch. Those two went side by side in the waiting laps, but for Moreno, 3 race wins this season. It has been the campaign for the 92 car tonight, and we've got another camera alongside his rig as he brings it to us for, I believe, what is the 2nd straight week. So good that we get to see a Bear's face as he takes on the racetrack tonight. But great point, Francisco, on the track position, because I wouldn't necessarily want to be one of these drivers behind the wheel of a race car sitting 39th on the grid. I don't believe in my skill to move up through the field, but I think there would be a ton of pressure if I were back there.
I mean, we're going to see that soon with the KBueno Truck Series, Kenneth. When we get to that, you're going to have an opportunity to go out there out on the racetrack. Everyone's going to see the talent that you say you don't have, but you most certainly do.
You're going to see the lowest class of the field, right? When I'm on the racetrack, it's not going to look good.
False.
I promise you.
Absolutely false.
Well, we've seen a lot of drivers in the booth come down and race. Obviously, you, Francisco, you've put on good shows. Charlie Byer has taken the racetrack a couple times. Keelan Belcha has been with us a bunch. I think Eli has made a start or two in KBueno history, so maybe there's just a chance for me to take the stage, but, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Green
I can't wait.
Restart. Lap number 40 of 117, Dahari and AJ Hyder. Familiar front row as they take the green flag in the restart zone. Dahari with another good launch. Hyder trying to cling to the quarter panel as they chase back to turn 1.
That he restarts. It almost looks like it's 3 wide for about the 7th spot. That's Duncan Fall peeking to the inside of Michael Walls, who drifts up high in front of Andretti Robinson, as that's just outside the top 5 down the back straightaway. Looks like Moreno had a bit of a moment off of 2. He concedes spot to Thurston, and further back there's Andretti Robinson. Stephen Maggio has worked his way up into the top 10 for the first time tonight. He started in 40th, did Stephen Maggio. Great stuff for him.
What a drive it's been for the defending champ. That's why they call him the defending champ of this series, and that's why he has that accolade to his resume. He knows how to cut through the field, and he's a bad, fast race car driver when it matters. And the Mario machine will skid to the inside, trying to get down the green tube. This time in the form of Andretti Robinson. Down to the bottom, he'll step into the top 9, and up at the front of this field, nearly had a potential pass for the race lead. And AJ Hyder trying to catch up to Gabriel Dahari, but no dice as they come back to turn 1.
I've seen everybody run that outside lane at this point except Gabriel Dahari, so we'll see if this is something that continues to happen all night long. There's Hyder and the 82 now side by side for the 2nd place position. Looks like Thurston trying to see if he can now make the bottom work on Hyder. They're going through the fast turn 3 now, and Moreno trying to keep tabs on these two and seeing if he can take back that position relative to these guys.
And 3 and 4 is such a hard place to pass here at Texas Motor Speedway, because back then it was much easier.
Oh,
with
he's
24
sideways.
degrees of banking, and there's a sideways. Thurston hangs on to the race car. 3 wide. Moreno down the bottom for the 2nd spot.
What a move by Ethan to get by both of them. We saw the back end step out on the 82 of Thurston. Was trying to carry too much speed in there. Great save by him. And they continue to go side by side with himself and AJ Hyder. Moreno was able to go by both of them.
Hard to say this next-gen car. Thurston just showed you what a wheelman effort looks like in the entry to turn 1, and all of that just to gain that very sacred spot to move up to 2nd. He's loose again, entry of turn 2, and back to the outside. AJ Hyder will make that move as they chase for turn 3. And Thurston has been that driver, Francisco, who was strong over the long run early, but it appears he's using too much of the Goodyear Eagles, and he's fallen back to 4th.
Using it a lot of it on this run, and sideways goes Duncan Fall. He's into the grass, spinning as we go through the tri-oval. Can he hang on to it? Doesn't look like he's doing so. And there's the caution flag. Oh, and it gets hit.
and falls sideways, gets tracked down in turn 1. And there it is, that bright pink and black Realms Chevrolet. That's a Minecraft Realms car. Lots of damage to Fall, who was just inside the top 10, fresh off the restart. And we'll try and rack it up, do it all over again, this time with Fall as the main heart of the action as they were stepping into the corner. So remember Thurston getting loose in the middle of turns 1 and 2. This seems to be a problem that occurs on the other end of the speedway, the higher banked 3 and 4. It was not changed, the banking, when they renovated this track back in 2017, but they added new pavement, therefore a lot of grip and a lot of speed. So Fall against Maggio here in turn 4. And yeah, Francisco, that's just the car getting loose. He gets through the bumps, car goes sideways, and right there he's just nothing but a passenger as he comes back up to the track.
And then right here, he does a great job of locking it down. I'm not sure if there was actual contact or if that was the classic case of slight net code. The bumper went flying off and magically reappeared so passively. Here's the onboard look from Amir Bascombe. As here you see Fall already up ahead, sliding through the grass, coming back up the track. He notices it, has to make the decision, gets hit. Oh my, you heard that. He got hit in the rear to get sent forward, and that might have affected him just slightly enough. I'm not sure what the damage extent is on his number 21 machine. That could have been bad. You get a look at that right front. Doesn't look any worse than it did from that previous incident. So I would say for both of these guys, that's an extremely lucky break that they did get big damage.
And that tap came from this man right here, Fidel Fabian, the 55 car, as he just enters this SAAC Cup Series, one of the new drivers making his debut tonight from Texas. And while he doesn't pick up any front-end nose damage from the hit to Amir Bascombe in the checkup for the incident, it does give Bascombe a bit of that right front damage as he was trying to get away from that perpendicular Duncan Fall Chevrolet, which will bring out the most recent yellow of tonight's event from Fort Worth. So while we're under yellow, once again, here from Texas Motor Speedway, we'll try and step aside, but you won't miss any of the action. Here on the KBueno Racing Network, it has been a fun one so far, a potential battle for the lead on our hands. Don't go anywhere. We've got coverage of the SAAC Cup Series on the KBueno Racing Network after this.
Let's go racing!
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the virtual Texas Motor Speedway as we are set to complete lap number 48 of race number 8 in this SAAC Cup Series Season 4 campaign. Kenneth Bueno and Francisco Bacallao along with you as we bring this race to you with Gabriel Dahari and AJ Hyder still in command at the front of the field. They have been the class of the group so far. We've seen a ton of the yellows break up the short green flag action. And here comes the restart, and AJ Hyder rockets off with the rear tires with a good run on Dahari. They're going to be gridlocked back to turns 1 and 2.
And if you remember back to Las Vegas, it was a good restart by Gabriel Dahari against AJ Hyder, who was leading, that allowed him to go for that race win. Hyder gets a good launch, unable to stay side by side, but we'll see if he makes a move into turn 3.
He's peaking. He's almost there, but he had to back out as soon as they got to turn 3. Dahari with a chance to defend, and Gabriel Dahari, despite the pressure, will stay up front. Good battle behind Brian Lorenzo, Michael Walls in their battle for 5th.
And there's Steven Maggio in the rear of all that. He is in 7th, trying to get past all this as James Thurston goes all the way to the outside. They're nearly 4 wide for a moment. Thurston gets a big run. Maggio goes through the middle, trying to see if he can get into the top 5.
Not afraid to chase up the mountain. James Thurston as he'll take away 4th. And Maggio back down to the inside. He'll take a look at Michael Walls. But again, 3 and 4 has been the toughest place to pass here at Texas so far. You're either on the bottom or the middle, and you will not gain an edge on the side draft. Maggio will have to plan hard in turn 1. He'll get that 51 Nintendo Toyota as far low as it can go, but he's getting pressed down by Walls as Thurston runs the high side again. The wall working to keep him in the top 5.
How about Michael Walls tonight so far, Kenneth, through these opening 51 laps? He's been in the top 10, top 5 the entirety of the evening, having a good run. He has needed this. He has not exactly had the most ideal opening set of races.
He has definitely been on the wrong track through the first several events of this season. The driver out of Nesbitt, Mississippi, trying to make his way forward, but Lorenzo will have something to say about it back to the inside. And think about the level of this top 5. You think of how Dahari has been up and down this season. The win at Las Vegas got him a chance to enter the Eliminator chase with more momentum, and then several weeks in which Indianapolis, he gained up from Iowa. He had such a fast race car and started that one from the pole as well, led a ton of laps early, and then got the lead stolen away, tried to do some alternative strategy, and got caught up in a mess later on. If there's anyone trying to recover his season, it is Gabriel Dahari. But you look back at the top 5 here with Steven Maggio not having the greatest championship defense season, James Thurston back in action, Lorenzo and Walls, who have shined a bit over the course of the season, but not as much as they would like to. These are great storylines as we push down to halfway. And another yellow flag.
And the yellow flag
out.
waves.
And it's Wyatt Roberts.
Trouble once again. Just really been struggling to get a decently long run here going, and we're in the midst of now of a sequence of about 5 or so laps before we get these yellows. And we'll see if at some point a big portion of the field decides to go split strategies and maybe come in for a tire set. I think they have 2 remaining at the very least as we're nearing the halfway point of tonight's event. So maybe somebody decides to think that it's a time to use one. Here's the replay of the incident with Wyatt Roberts. He's on the bottom here, 3 wide off of turn 2, and it looks like, I think that's the 02 of Traver Burns, probably exited a lot lower than the 42 was expecting with the car on the outside, and just happens to send him spinning sideways as the leaders are making their way on pit road.
So here they are, second trip wholesale service.
Split strategies.
Dahari, we'll see who stays out. And Dahari will
Steven
come
Maggio.
in. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, it looks like he will also stay out on the racetrack. So the 2 friends, not entirely teammates here at the SAAC Cup Series, but 2 very well affiliated drivers are going to try their chance and stay out. Dahari, Hyder, and a majority of this top 10 will find their way on a pit road. We'll get the fresh Goodyear Eagles. They'll be back on field. Again, this race has had so many yellow. Strategy hasn't been the proper topic of conversation, but like we've seen at Indy and like we've seen at Iowa, strategy has mattered just a bit. And for Steven Maggio, he has expressed his frustrations, Francisco, about having the right strategy but having the wrong timing. You remember Indianapolis where he stayed out under yellow flag while Moreno and the rest of the leaders came in, had the track position and put himself in a place to win, and then that Malachi Drake crash happened in turn 1 and took him out of contention. Iowa Speedway, another race in which he felt like he had the winning strategy in the winning car, took 2 tires at one point in the race, had track position in his favor, and then all of a sudden trouble, and the cautions ultimately is what set him back and let the rest of the group with AJ Hyder and company catch back up and make that a race for the win, with Maggio not entirely in sight. So that second place finish, he told us it was more bitter than bittersweet. So he's trying another shot at it, throwing the kitchen sink, and hoping that staying out on this strategy could pay off come race end.
And I see how this can work out for the driver staying out because of the amount that stayed out. You have to go all the way back to 18th place to find Gabriel Dahari, who was the leader on the pit road. First car on 4 new tires. Most of the field is on some 20 or so lap tires. But you have to think about the fact that we've had about 3 or 4 caution flags during that period. So they're not 24 green flag lap tires, if you will. So going to have a great opportunity here to get some laps in and possibly keep the track position. I'm not sure what he's drinking there. I'm not sure if that's any water. I hope there's a Celsius in there. That I mean, I don't have one on me right now, but I hope he does.
Oh, maybe Ethan has one. I don't think we've seen a drink from his camera either. So, well, maybe they're just hydrating well. I don't know if that's water, but for Maggio with that,
I'm rocking with the water tonight.
all right, well, me too. Honestly, I'm a water enjoyer. I'm a water simplifier. So, I mean, give me water any day of the week. But Steven Maggio with that Kyle Larson shirt that he usually wears on race day, and when he puts his camera on, usually has that Kyle Larson shirt on. He has an entire room decked out with Kyle Larson merch, Kyle Larson diecast, and even to the point where he told me months ago that his cat walks into the room and on the shelf that he has all of his Kyle Larson diecast kind of propped up, the cat lays down, creates like the ball as the cat falls asleep, and kind of pushes slowly all of the Kyle Larson cars out of the way, and it forms a circle to make space for the cat as it falls asleep. So good little nugget there for Steven Maggio, but I'm sure he's locked in, hoping that he doesn't get any other distractions so far tonight. He'll be on the outside of the front row watching Ethan Fonseca Moreno take the field to the Geico restart zone for the first time in a sense where Gabriel Dahari is not leading this race. Green flag.
Moreno gets a great jump. Looks like Andretti Robinson's going to move up into the 3rd spot. We're 3 wide for a moment. Looks like Maggio on the outside of it as Connor Trafari tried to take it through the middle. That's on the very outside. Ellis Wells in the 57 trying to make something there. So they're all battling away for second as Moreno gets clear for the top spot. Hyder wasting no time, being aggressive into the 15th spot already, and now he has to try and get past Declan George. It's going to be a while before he gets to the front because there's a lot of traffic beating and banging as Michael Walls and the 72 Gabriel Dahari.
Maggio just about nudged his way through to the inside in turn 3. Andretti Robinson was not going to give him the space, but Maggio just put his nose in the right place, and now he's back to second. 3 wide behind him in the back half of the top 10. Ollie Reeves trying to point his way down, and Ellis Wells, first time we call his name out all night long, down to the inside that bright green Chevrolet to the bottom of the Splatoon car. Shockey Tarpley, race high, top
Beaumont
6.
into the wall, raking in the back, Thurston, Beaumont wrecking 4.
And there's big time trouble and more cars in it. James Thurston spun, Wyatt Roberts in it as well. And there's our biggest crash of the night just as we're about halfway.
I noticed Beaumont starting to get sideways. They were about 3 wide in the middle of turns 3 and 4, and eventually that 15 got sideways, and numerous other cars got a piece of it all in turn 4. They were stacking up big time behind Dahari and I think the 26, and that forced that situation. It was almost 4 wide, and there's Beaumont having to get back to pit road. And that's what happens when you pick, Kenneth. When in this strategy, when there's so many drivers that stay out, that you get this far back in the track position, you put yourself at this risk.
That's what struck Gabriel Dahari late in the race. That's what caught a lot of other drivers trying to catch up through the field. And here they were, just nearly about 3 or 4 wide. Loose was Beaumont, and then gets tapped. There's James Thurston, that black car with flames. Cody Riveras, heavy hit to the outside safer barrier. Wyatt Roberts just getting collateral damage just by almost skidding through the accident. And another week, another bad luck scenario for the 15 of James Beaumont. Here's a look on board.
Yeah, he's going to step out here just from sideways over the bump. He's going to go right through that bump, and that's immediately what gets him sideways. Tries to save it. Jurgensmeyer makes some slight contact, and here comes Thurston and the rest of them. What a miss by Brandon Thomas. Wow.
Not easy to get around that, but a huge breakaway for those drivers. We'll try to get another look here with the likes of Brandon Thomas as he skids through. That's the M&M car on the inside.
Oh.
Wow.
That's the stuff that makes you thank your lucky stars.
That's a brown pants moment if I've ever seen it. I don't know if Thomas is going to need a change of pants under this next pit stop, but car number 7 doing a great job of staying out of harm's way, and that car relatively clean as we'll be under yellow again.
I think he could take a few more M&Ms after that one.
Yeah. Definitely could. Thank goodness it's a colorful car. Thank God it's not in any of the color of white. It's not a base white paint scheme, because we would have seen something else come out of it. But Brandon Thomas
clearly, clearly the orange M had the appropriate reaction on that left side.
That's true. That's true. Face full of fear, but the car makes it through fearlessly. There's James Bomar on pit road. Declan George joining him. And all that front end damage on the Minecraft Toyota is going to be a long time to repair. And the suspension damage also prevalent on Bomar. It appears he has put his car behind the wall. Another week where James Bomar will not see the light of day at the end of tonight's race from Texas. And this is, again, the product of the frustration for guys like Steven Maggio in moments like this where he needs this race to go at least a little bit green. All these yellows start flying. The short green flag runs prevail. And thus, it hurts their chance at keeping any sort of that track position they have. It will help them save a bit of fuel, that's for certain, but it certainly doesn't make you happy when you continue to see these carnages happen further back in the field when you're trying to keep your mission at stake of being at the front of this field and making it work. But we'll double up and try again.
I can assure you 100% no one wants to run behind that iRacing pace truck. No matter which strategy they're on, they don't want to see it so many times. Eventually everyone gets bored and they start cracking jokes in the chat. I remember in NIS at Indianapolis, that was the case the first 80 or so laps. It was continuous yellows the whole way through, and the chat was making side bets, trying to figure out, okay, how many laps we go now? And that tends to happen in the voice chat of these races as the yellow light comes back on once again. But I think the biggest thing for the strategy to work is you have to consider the fact that everybody still has to stop at least once in this race, regardless if they pitted recently or not. So when you make that last pit stop, could be very crucial. Do you do it when the pit window opens? Do you try to do it around, I don't know, 30 laps to go, 20 laps to go? You just certainly, even if you, with the caution flags continue to come out at this rate, you can't make it on fuel. Even if you just pitted, it's just way too many laps with the fuel fill we got. But the window is going to open, I would say, in about 10 or so laps. So keep an eye out. If we get a long enough run within the next 15 laps, potential drivers making their way into the pit lane for a restart could be possible. Actually, the lights were turned off, and we're going single file restart.
We are. This is because that yellow flag came out just on the precipice of the green flag restart, so the formation may just change the intensity of this race. Green raises again here from Fort Worth, Texas, and it's a great start by the leader, Connor Trafari, trying to peek on the outside of Andretti Robinson in the potential fight for third. The Chris Lilly designed Chevrolet is there. He'll point to the inside in a potential look for the third spot.
Look at that battle further back. Nicholas Bauman to the inside, 3 wide with the 30 of Larry Miles and the 61 of Duncan Fall. There's AJ Hyder behind of all this, and the 13 of Connor Zola. This could get tight off of turn 4.
And right in the back, that yellow and black Chevrolet, Gabriel Dahari. Remember, these two were leading the race. They had pitted earlier on tonight, so they may just get bit. Miles swerves in the middle, 3 wide. Dahari points down low, and that's a change for what could be net P1 should the leaders end up pitting soon. Dahari gets more. Bauman through the middle, physicality down the back straightaway.
And Bauman's going to lose big time of that. 72 accelerated off the corner, makes some slight contact with the left front of Bauman. Bauman falls down the order, and now into the top 10 goes Gabriel Dahari and AJ Hyder as they're trying to continue the way through the front. But you have to remember, as laps continue to go down in this run, their tires are going to equalize that little bit more. They're going to have to continue to get past drivers. They can't just sit and run in this pace. They have to go past cars, and that'll eventually make their car very difficult to handle. How about Alex Schumacher, who's making his way up into the 16th spot? He's one of those drivers that pitted. He's on brand new tires, and that Fallout Toyota Camry is making some moves.
And it looks good on the racetrack as well. Schumacher debuting that Fallout paint scheme tonight as part of video game theme night here in the SAAC Cup Series. And for a driver that talked to us last week on the KBRN post-race show, wasn't exactly ecstatic and thrilled about the situation he was faced with, but hopefully better luck awaits for the Port Huron, Michigan native who will try to step under Bauman. They're going to get under the 13 of Ollie Reeves. That's not Ollie Reeves, rather, but that's another car. Down to the outside of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4. And just when you thought AJ Hyder and Gabriel Dahari were in trouble, they had that huge sigh of relief to make their way on by. Nothing is scarier than trying to get by some old traffic with the old set of Goodyear Eagles on, but thankfully they escape. And Schumacher on the right side of your screen down there. Michael Walls still in all of these battles in 15th.
Yeah, Walls, another one of those drivers that pitted under that recent caution. They're trying to work their way through this traffic melee. And they're right now sitting in 15th and 16th respectively. Behind them, that's the 13 of Connor Zola. He's on older tires on a different strategy call for the number 13 McDonald's machine. And looking up further ahead, Gabriel Dahari has moved his way up into 9th, got past the 19 of Trevor Haley, looking after the 31 of Ollie Reeves. AJ Hyder now got past the number 70, or the 19 machine as well. So there's Hyder, there's Dahari on the same set of the screen. And they're continuing to work by this traffic. They got Quincy Strawhacker amongst others and Ellis Wells in front of them. They're able to work by this traffic relatively quick. The thing is, they're not exactly helping themselves out relative to the race leader. They're going to need a super long run. They can't go 10 or 15 laps and expect to be in the lead if the yellow flag waves. They have to hope that this thing goes as long as possible, maybe into the 30 or 40 lap range.
And back to that point that you made, Francisco, about the tires starting to even out over the course of the run, and they need to rush a bit if they want to get into a place where it favors them over the course of the strategy. The difference in tires between these two drivers that you're watching on screen and the leaders is a margin of 24 laps that is in favor of Dahari and AJ Hyder. So it's a big difference, and at a lot of the mile and a halves across the schedule and a lot of other tracks we see that eat up tires rather quickly, 24 laps is going to get you a very fast car in comparison. Here at Texas, though, it's been faster, but only marginally, by maybe a tenth or less than some of the cars we've seen run good laps at the front of the field. There goes Dahari charging the outside on that GTA 6 Toyota, Quincy Strawhacker. Highest we've seen him tonight since he kind of went in and out of pit road without getting into his pit stall. So inside the top 10, Ellis Wells will try and play a bit of defense here. That donut operator Chevrolet trying to fend off Dahari on the outside. Dahari will make the move, and he's leaving AJ Hyder in the dust. It's going to get harder for that 42 to make way, and now Wells will fight back down the bottom.
The traffic could make the difference between themselves and the strategy, but you also have to remember, of those 24 laps, Kenneth, there was about 3 or 4 yellow flags we had in that sequence, so it's not 24 green flag laps. You're probably lucky to say you got about 10 or 12 green flag laps in there, so it's not nearly what it's being presented as here we are on board with Gabriel Dahari as he makes his way to the inside of Shockey Tarpley to try to get into the 5th place spot. Even though he's making all these moves in traffic, he's running similar lap times to your top 2, which I've kind of broken away from. And there's the caution flag.
And
Brian Lorenzo in trouble.
Another break in the action. Brian Lorenzo, the driver involved, and will be under the yellow. Dahari hoping that this will be the marker for those at the front to make their way to the back and come down pit road. And that UAlbany Chevrolet is beat up in turn 4.
And the incident actually started with Rivers Jones up ahead, who got sideways in front of a couple cars. Set this back to have a better view of it. There's the 26, gets sideways right there in front of Amir Bascom, who gets into him. Lorenzo into the back. Brandon Thomas runs into the 1, and some further contact with the 90 of Malachi Drake. So some pretty medium level damage to several cars in that incident.
A lot of torn up machines in that. Amir Bascom hasn't seen a positive moment ever since he got involved in that first crash, so they end up in trouble. The field at the front will come down pit road, and there's a secondary look from Brandon Thomas, who escaped the last incident with Duncan Fall. Not entirely secure and safe this time, just at the back end of that huge stack up. And Lorenzo, of course, the meat of the sandwich, getting tossed around in the back straightaway, and he most likely will be under heavy duty repairs, and he'll be maybe several laps down. So here's the field on pit road, and most interestingly, Francisco, Gabriel Dahari and AJ Hyder are set to join
the whole
them.
field.
They're going to try and even out on the strategy.
This is the whole field that's in, and surprisingly, they're not taking 2 tires, but you know who is? Steven Maggio? No, 4 tires on them. I thought it was Steven with 2 with the closing rate he had on Ethan, but they all take 4 tires, and Dahari's able to come out in 6th. Oh no, a pit road penalty for Gabriel Dahari. He's given up positions.
And that is another huge dragger for the driver who's been so fast tonight. Dahari may have just been too quick, and he's letting the whole field through.
Oh no, those are not the kind of mistakes you can afford to make with fields of this size at this portion of the race. And you can see right there, he knows that he made that error, and unfortunately, that could cost him a potential chance at the race win tonight.
So Dahari will give up track position, and again, that is exactly the thing that put him in the sucker hole last week at Iowa. Took 1 pit stop under yellow that set him back, was cutting his way through the field, found himself in carnage, and it goes back to the point that you made earlier on tonight about the extra pressure that you have back there, and if you're just back there by a strategy decision, you are at the mercy of one mistake, two mistakes, couple mistakes by drivers in front that could take you out without a moment's notice to prepare for it. And so Dahari will have to face the brunt of that situation, and he will be at the end of the longest line. We have currently just about 34 cars on the lead lap. Rivers Jones, who makes his return to the series after that one race suspension that he served after that intentional crash against Cody Rivera at Indianapolis that encumbered his proverbial race win. Dahari is going to be all the way back in what looks like 17th, or 27th rather, as they come out of pit road. So Dahari is going to bleed off a ton of track position, and he's going to have to gain it back in the span of 52 laps that hopefully can go down under green, but not entirely certain given the field size. And just like you're watching with the lights off on the iRacing official pace car, we are again going to go down to single file green flag restarts because of just how quickly that yellow came out as a result.
Kenneth, 2 notable pit stops inside this top 10. Michael Walls, 2-tire stop, 9.7 seconds. Jason Rashcock, I don't think he took 2 tires because that was 7 seconds, so possibly fuel only on the 71.
And that's a driver who is recovering after a big crash down the back straightaway. He's got his car repaired. That unbound Chevrolet looks just as it came off the trailer, but Rashcock is going to try to use that stop to potentially push him forward. And remember, Maggio was not a 2-tire call. It was 4 fresh goodies, but a 13.5 second stop in and out of the box. That is the fastest of anyone in the top 5. Green flag waves, and the teammates work together. Moreno and Maggio single-handedly tandem at the front. Maggio wants more. He'll plant to the outside, and he's too loose. He'll save it on the banking. Inside goes Tarpley and the rest of the top group.
An incredible save by Steven Maggio to keep the car under him, but that's a byproduct of the cold tires. He was trying to give it all it could right then and there, but the car just didn't have the temperature or the grip to be able to handle it. Sideways he went, and he hangs on to it, still battling for the 8th place position. What a save.
Remember back at Las Vegas, that miraculous keep up of the race car that he had in the middle of 3 and 4. I think memories of that just came up, and now there's another sideways car. Ollie Reeves sideways in turn 1, and he'll bring out the yellow flag. They'll come to a stop, and it's the defending Texas winner who pointed the pistols back in Season 2, this time looking down the barrel of this most recent yellow.
Oh no, there's Amir Bascom involved as well.
Another
more trouble for him.
He
struggled tonight.
He struggled tonight big time, and he is just on the cusp of being put a lap down. And the Ollie Chevrolet, who was at once in this top 10, now unfortunately spun around, and a rather harmless spill for Reeves tonight, but it will, of course, kill all the track position. And this was the Steven Maggio situation. Had it gone wrong, turns 1 and 2 on the outside, car is still on the cold tires, and that car is sideways, Francisco, from the get-go.
Yeah, just loses it, backs into the wall, and right around here, yeah, look at that close call. And there's the contact. Looks like Bascom and Jones get a piece of each other right there as they're trying to avoid this wreck. I'm not too sure if it was somebody coming down or not, but relatively clean race cars for those two. Ollie Reeves, unfortunately, the back end of his race car has some pretty good damage. Here's a secondary look at that Steven Maggio save, Kenneth, because wow, that was something else. He was right on the back bumper of Ethan, had a great restart, peeks to the outside, and that could be all it does. You see just how much it starts to go, and then all of a sudden loses the grip. And there goes Shockey. What a save. Oh, I can't save that. I would overcorrect or spin the race car, and plenty of other people would do so, but Steven Maggio saves that race car.
You know, Francisco, that is a hard save to make solo, but it's an even harder save to make when you look in the rearview mirror, Maggio in this case, and you've got heavy traffic right off the restart with Tarpley and everyone else behind just charging on that one mistake. And Maggio, for all it's worth, keeps his foot in it, stays on the high side of Quincy Strawhacker, and doesn't lose that much track position. He's down 6 from that restart, but he's only in 8th, so he's still in the top 10, given all that occurred just off of that restart and that almost spill in 1.
Yeah, great job by him to hang on to that one. I know he's not going to be too happy that it happened, but when you consider the fact that there's over 30 cars in your rearview mirror when you're sideways in front of the field like that and you don't manage to hit anybody, I think you could take that with a with a slight breathe. I think you can breathe. I think you can exhale after that kind of save.
It's a silver lining for sure for Maggio, and he's going to thank his lucky stars that he held on to the car and didn't spin it out. Here's another look at Alexander Schumacher's Fallout scheme. One of the most beautiful cars, I'd say, that's on track tonight. It is going to be up for debate which is the best scheme of all time in this race, given all of the video game theme styles, but this Fallout one certainly will be a top contender. And you're looking at that camera down low on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That is a Detroit Lions jersey. Of course, Alex is a Port Huron, Michigan native. He is a big fan of the Detroit Lions. He loves the way they're going right now. And I'm saying this because NFL preseason just started tonight, Francisco. It's big news for the football world as we're almost in September. That is crazy to say.
July football, baby. If preseason is here, we're back in action with the NFL. Can't wait to watch my Jaguars disappoint me this fall again, as they do every single year. But it is the Detroit Lions playing tonight against the LA Chargers. They're down right now, 24-7. But you know what they say, it's preseason, so you don't take it too much seriously. I know Shuey's looking very much forward to the prospects of the Detroit Tigers in the baseball world. I've got my first couple of experiences in baseball games this season, going to a couple Marlins events myself, and I gotta say, I am getting neatly into it. My girlfriend is a big fan of the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani, and I gotta say, I'm really getting into it, and I'm learning a lot of the sport.
All hail Kyle Sowers, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, absolutely.
But in all seriousness,
saw him hit that home run.
In all seriousness, yes, Schumacher has told us a bunch about how he's been tired of watching his Detroit team suck for so long. Now he's happy to see that the Tigers are on a good swing, the Lions are on a good swing, Detroit and
the Pistons.
The Pistons made the playoffs last season. They had a good charge until New York came around. So lots of good things for Detroit sports after many years of frustration. But Schumacher's going to try and rewrite the frustration of his season. He'll roll off 12th when we get this green flag restart, which is again single file and once more in the hands of the San Jose Californian. Moreno leads the charge back to turn one, this time with much more space from the rear bumper of his car to the next car in line. Tarpley playing defense for second.
These restarts can be tricky. Guys try to time the restart. There's Trafari peeking to the inside of Andretti Robinson. There's numerous guys that try to lay back a little bit and try to creep up to the outside of others around the start-finish line area, and it creates stack-ups further back in the field. So got to keep an eye out for those moments as this race continues to wind down and drivers look for that advantage. But there's Trafari trying his very best to take away the third-place spot on the inside lane. And an update on Gabriel Dahari. He is down only in 28th, so he hasn't really made all that much ground.
He's trying to get back in it, but of course it is going to be tough runnings for the Houston Texan as we ride on board with the Sonoma race winner, Connor Trafari, who is trying to pick himself back up on his feet after winning that race in the road course event earlier on this year. He has failed to make a top 10 run in any of the races after Indianapolis finished 17th. And then at Iowa, we saw that highlight reel, just that hard crash to the outside wall in turn 2 after an overcorrection.
Oh, in trouble for Dahari.
Shockey Tarpley is on the bottom. Dahari seems to be in trouble. AJ Hyder down to third.
Yeah, Dahari has some big front end damage, and he's been dropping positions against the outside wall as of the last lap or two. And you saw a big moment there. I'm not sure who quite it was. It might have been Shockey Tarpley. But it is all going wrong for the 72 now in the final couple laps.
We'll try to get a replay as to what happened to that B-movie Chevrolet as he was all the way back in 27th when we got that green flag restart. And we'll see if Dahari ended up with more trouble. So here he is, right side of your screen as he's trying to pick himself back up. It's, again, a single file restart. Things do shake up a little bit when the drivers stack up. And that's it.
That gave him front end damage, and that's really been hurting him the last couple laps.
And that's Wyatt Roberts, the driver that he hit, the Daytona winner, who is sporting an American Truck Sim and Euro Truck Sim paint scheme tonight on behalf of the video game theme. Here's AJ Hyder down the bottom shelf, trying to point the laser at Andretti Robinson's Halo car, but to no avail. Still gridlock back down the straightaway.
And here comes Hyder now, trying to see if he can hold the bottom lane in order to get past the 45, but just unable to really get away from him. And there's Connor Trafari ready to join this party. And there's again the number 24 of Michael Walls in the 5th place spot on that 2-tire call for the most recent pit stop. Is probably going to help the handling to where he wants it to be as he continues to be in this top 5 for an impressive run.
Great run by a lot of these guys in the midst of this top 10. Shockey Tarpley, of course. Highlights at Las Vegas, our last intermediate mile-and-a-half racetrack of the season, but the Splatoon car doing well for himself. They're 3 wide further back. It's Duncan Fall on the high side, and right in the middle, the Indiana native Trevor Haley steps into 11th.
And there's Alex Schumacher joining the party. A couple of BBR drivers or BBR associates all around the same part of the racetrack, as this is just outside the top 10. 10th being occupied by Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. And it settles out for now. So some great battling been going on just outside the top 10 all race long.
And we've seen 13th through 15th be the typical portion of the field where things really do get sketchy a bit, but they are starting to draw their weapons right now. Larry Miles, Connor Zola, Nicholas Baumann, all in this long single file train. A lot of guys that struggled dearly at the Iowa cornfields last Thursday trying to pick themselves back up. And look at Alexander Schumacher. What a drive in 1 and 2 through the top shelf. Gets him up to 11th, and Trevor Haley plummets.
That'll get Eminem up and clapping for him.
That is a huge move by the Michigan driver. Duncan Fall pointing down low. Not going to make it happen. Alex Schumacher just 1 spot away from a top 10 run in the late stages here at Texas.
And he's talked about the frustrations of not having the results that have shown for some of the competitive moments he showed. Remember, he started up at the front of Las Vegas, and he was having a strong qualifying effort, ran good at the front of the race, but then struggled towards the back half of the race, had some damage, and wasn't able to quite get that top 20 finish he was probably hoping for in that one. But here right now, running 11th place with just under 30 laps remaining, Kenneth, he is probably absolutely enjoying this right now, knowing him.
Gonna have to hope that this race stays on course to a top 10 run, or just at least a top 15 in the credits for car number 68. He'll try and fire against Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, who's a couple car lengths in front, not too far. Then Quincy Strawhacker, and then Steven Manjo. Again, that slight spill in 1 and 2 got him back to 8th. He hasn't gained a spot since the last green flag restart, and he's gonna try and pounce on that bright green Donut Operator Chevrolet of Ellis Wells. Race high top 10 still building for him as Connor Zola takes a trip through the lawnmower section of the racetrack. And now Trevor Haley up high for 15th.
And there's Nicholas Baumann just in front in the Mountain Dew Chevrolet, who has had a couple of moments on his own right here tonight, but he is currently in the 14th spot ahead of his good buddy and teammate Trevor Haley as they're trying to navigate these closing laps of this race. And up at the front, Andretti Robinson has held off for second for now, and they're set about half a second behind race leader Ethan Fonseca Moreno, trying to do their best to close the gap. But on that last lap, it was Ethan that was about 1/10 quicker than the 2 cars that sit behind him on the racetrack currently. Everybody within this top 10 ran 30.3s to some extent, while Ethan still ran a 30.25. So in that clean air with that strong car, it is Ethan Fonseca Moreno trying his very best.
And Andretti Robinson putting up a phenomenal performance, just several car lengths behind. It's just about a half-second difference between your race leader and this Halo 3 Ford Mustang, a driver who's picked up 3 top 10 efforts in the lead up to Iowa, and then that race really took a downturn as he finished 30th, ending up in crashes. But Robinson trying to put himself back in championship contention. Again, it comes down to overall points at season's end, not entirely a win, and you're in eliminator chase system here in the SAAC Cup Series. So Robinson just trying to put forth that consistency here at the mile and a half, and it is working so far. But take a look at the difference in handling between these 2 machines, Francisco, between running second and running first. Just how important and just how good does that clean air feel behind the wheel of this next-gen car when you have it in the case of Moreno up front?
I think the biggest thing when you run into dirty air, it's not so much that it's there all the time, it's the fact that when you want to put the throttle down, when you're trying to keep the momentum in the corner, you will sense the nose of the race car all of a sudden just take off, and you have to lift or risk getting into the outside wall. And that's really what it does, is it'll affect you on exit that way. So you want to run offset in some way, or get some kind of downward momentum, or check your corner up. That way you can get a better exit than you normally would, trying to run it as if you were the leader. And then right here, if you're AJ Hyder, you're both kind of facing some sense of dirty air, so it's not nearly as bad for Hyder trying to get past for second as it would be second trying to get past for the race lead.
And Hyder's really dealing with that dirty air now. You see him experimenting, especially in 3 and 4, that secondary lane, which has worked a ton for a lot of other drivers in this race tonight. and it's played fourth for the 48 car in search of what will be
Oh,
his
Tarpley gets turned.
And Tarpley in trouble. That's in the middle of the top 10.
What a
and
save!
He hangs on to the race car, spills all over the back straightaway, and we're four
Four
wide.
wide. And they hang on to it into turn 3. Incredible stuff as Tarpley got tagged by Steven Maggio going in through turn 2. Remember, those two have some history back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it is the 25 that gets the bad end of the deal here. We'll try and get a look at it again just so you can see where it originated. There's Steven Maggio, who's behind the 25, all this behind Michael Walls. Maggio goes into the corner, tries to roll the bottom, and just happens to get right in there into the 25. Then around goes Tarpley. He kind of hangs on to it pretty decently, and they all go around him 3-4 wide, but it was contact with Maggio that set him up in the first place.
And the driver you're focused on right now, that gray and orange number 30 of Larry Miles, well, he made the move of a lifetime. He sent it in full without any regrets to the bottom 4 wide on the back straightaway, and just somehow they kept it all together and avoided what could have been a big-time yellow. Now inside the final
Bauman
20.
sideways.
Now Bauman sideways right behind. Does he save it? The answer is yes, but behind there's trouble. Yellow flag out, Gabe Cazzola.
Gabe Cazzola around after having what was a relatively clean race. We have not really brought up his name at all tonight. And unfortunately here with 19 laps to go, it is trouble for the number 18 machine, who had a great run yesterday, leading the most laps in that Daytona race. Tried to carry that momentum over today. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. As we get a secondary look at what led to this. Looks like just some contact there, I believe, with Christopher Robinson, and overcorrects into the outside. Big hit to that left front tire, possibly some wheel damage there.
Hard hit for Cazzola. You see all of that damage, the crinkles on the left side of his Toyota Camry. That's a Parappa the Rapper inspired paint scheme. Again, it is video game theme night, so he's taking it with a deep cut. The old PlayStation 2 days and PlayStation days with Parappa the Rapper, and that car is going to be in a bad spot. He's going to try and fix it as we move forward to the final 20. And just as we thought, Francisco, here comes everyone down pit road. It appears now the main question is, are there any 2-tire fixes? We're looking at Steven Maggio, most notably. He's been popular amongst drivers with that move. Moreno's going to have to wait until the very end of the pit stop to get in. And here comes the field on a pit lane.
And Moreno could try to take 2 as well. He's learned a lot from Steven Maggio, as Michael Walls had to back up a little bit into his stall. So let's see who does go for the 2-tire call. Moreno does. He goes for the 2 tires. He comes out well in front of Steven Maggio. Looks like possibly Jonathan Jurgensmeyer as well with 2 tires will get out into the 3rd place position. And Nicholas Bauman 3 wide with Duncan Fall and AJ Hyder gets up into 4th, as it's a melee from 4th on back.
Now the Connellsville, Pennsylvania native having it to work there in the middle of 3 wide. And it's again a 2-tire call from the front running 4. That will lead us back to the green flag. Let's see if we can get another look at that move all the way to the end of pit road. I mean, we've joked about it. Photo finishes on track sometimes. Photo finishes on pit road more often. What a stop by Nicholas Bauman. 33.8 seconds in and out of pit lane. 9.2 in his box. And that launch off of his box is what's going to get him a top 5 spot.
And even the rest from there on out, it was still pretty hectic all the way through this top 10. It could have really been any order. So for Bauman to be able to sneak up into that top 5 with that 2-tire call, he's in the same voice chat as his teammate leading this race. So he probably recommended that strategy towards him to help him out in his race, give him some better track position that he's had all night. And that could be all that the 81 needs to come away with a solid result here tonight. Maggio back on the front row after his previous mistake with those 2-tire call. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer in the 3rd spot for this restart, Kenneth. We haven't seen him this high in the running order in a while, as we'll go back with 1 more additional lap. So we won't go green here on this particular lap. We'll go another one for 15 to go when we take the green flag. But man, this could get real good real quick.
It is going to get fun inside the final stretch as the drivers will spur to a race victory. Let's try and talk with the man up front right now. 2-tire call for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Ethan, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ethan. Well, you've got the race lead. We're going to try to go green here. 2-tire stretch in the final 16. What are the thoughts as we push forward?
Just go all out.
I like it. Only a couple words. Short and sweet, Ethan. Thank you for the time. Best of luck on the restart.
Thank you.
So he will join the rest of his team to try and lock in for the final 16 that will take down here from Fort Worth, Texas. And it's a familiar front row. Two drivers that have spent a long time competing against each other on the sim. Maggio, the defending champ, hasn't won a race this year, while Moreno has won 3 overall in 2025. Let's see if we can roll our first double file restart in a while under the green flag. Moreno files the field to the Geico restart zone.
And they're stacking
Check
up
on the bottom, green flag.
They were stacking up, and Trafari moved to the outside. They're now 3 wide through the middle, 4 wide.
They're going to be 4 abreast into turn 1. Do they survive in the middle of the banking? For right now,
What a
the answer
restart.
is yes. Trafari pushes from the high side. Robinson stuck in the middle, and he's turned off the edge of turn 2. Robinson to the inside wall, and the yellow will come out now with 15 to go.
And once again, it's with Ollie Reeves with some big front end damage on that 31. What a restart. We were 4 wide. That was Michael Walls that went bottom 4 wide on that restart. They had stacked up on the outside with Trafari going outside 3 wide before the restart, before the start finish line. Might see race control take a look at him. I've noticed that on a couple of restarts tonight, as we'll get a replay of the restart. There you see Trafari on the outside. There goes Walls to the inside right here, and they are 4 wide. And not just that, there was 4 wide here as well with Ollie Reeves. There's the 25 drifting up. There's the 45 in the 3rd lane, and then right here they just all kind of intertwine. Tarpley gets into the left rear of the 45, sends him into Reeves, and both of those cars get some front end damage from the inside wall.
It just converged, and that product was really the stack up on the outside lane. You watched it a bit on the bottom, but it was much more exacerbated on the high side. Again, everyone trying to get as good of a restart as possible. The entry to turn 1 is so precious when it comes down to gaining quick track position, gaining it very fast. So Robinson's already stuck in the middle. He's got 4 wide from his spotter. He's seeing Tarpley there. That's platoon pink and purple car. It's going to be on the inside. There's no contact right up until here. He's keeping space again for Trafari up top. And it's minimal contact to the quarter panel and nowhere for the red, white, and blue Ollie Reeves car to go. He's on the bottom with nowhere to spare. And then those 2 cars get involved. And Andretti Robinson, we mentioned that high success, the high praise for the good race he had been running up until now. Again, it only takes 1 pit stop, 1 sequence, 1 yellow flag to turn your race for the worse. And for Robinson, he's going to have to now dig through the trenches if he wants a shot at winning this deal.
And inside this top 10, among others, Quincy Strawhacker in 5th, who's had his fair share of issues throughout the evening after the early troubles in particular, sits in 5th. Could possibly get a top 5 finish here tonight. Trevor Haley had some issues a couple laps ago, and he sits in 7th. Duncan Fall in 8th. Michael Walls able to get that top 10. He has ran top 10 all night long. He definitely would enjoy a top 10 finish here tonight. And, of course, Alex Schumacher hanging on to the inside of the top 10 after that big moment in turn 2. He sits in the exact 10th place position. And Ellis Wells down in 12th. Amir Bascombe, after making 6 pit stops all night long, sits in 13th with an opportunity to still get a top 10.
And somehow that car is still intact. We've seen a ton of beatings tonight, whether it be off of turn 2, off turn 4. Things have really gone sour for Bascombe, but he's kept his head in it. He's relentless right now, and we're going to try to go back under the green flag this time with just about 12 to 11 laps to go.
And there's the choose, as drivers choose which lane they're going to go in for the restart. Maggio to the outside once again of Ethan Fonseca. But Jonathan Jurgensmeyer going to that bottom. Bauman goes to the bottom this time behind Strawhacker, and that puts Haley in an opportunity to take 6th on the outside behind AJ Hyder. You got to remember, the only driver in the top 8 on 4 tires is Mr. AJ Hyder. The next highest running car with 4 fresh tires is going to be the number 9 of Connor Trafari and the number 24 of Michael Walls. So this could be very interesting, just seeing how the 2 tires progress in these final 10 laps.
And you saw Trafari outside 4 wide, made good progression on those 4 fresh goodies because of that double file restart that we had that pushed the field wide into turn 1. So that CLD design Chevrolet is going to try and push from the back end of the top 10. Him and Michael Wall is going to be 9th and 10th as they come across to the start-finish line with just 12 laps remaining. Remember, last week came down to overtime restarts that helped AJ Hyder stay up the road. He's got front and nose damage now. He's on the outside of row 2, and it's the San Jose Californian of Ethan Fonseca Moreno looking to lead into his 4th career SAAC Cup Series victory and 4th of the season. Switch up by the drivers up high, and it's a bobble from Hyder. Green flag into turn 1.
Looks like that 4th row really struggled to get going as Walls peeks to possibly try to go 4 wide again, but he backs out of this time with Bauman as he goes side by side with Duncan Fall. They're 3 wide with Trafari on the outside. And there you see Maggio peeking to the inside as the yellow flag waves once again. Looks like trouble for their back. Cody Rivera's possibly with some issues. Looks like Declan George slow as well. We'll have to get another look at it as the caution's now starting to fall here late in Texas.
Just as the aggression is picking up, the yellows are following suit. Caution flag again with 11 laps to go. We've seen an average of 7 yellows for each race leading up to the Iowa Speedway, which had a ton of yellows as well. And I believe we may have found the cause of it down this single file restart for a majority of the guys in the back of this field. Again, they were joining the field, and there was a spinner to the inside. That was Gabe Cazzola, I believe, who got out of shape as they were coming to the green flag. And that wasn't even the first bit of the issue. It's Rajcock here, touch from Riveras. And that is all that she wrote. Gabriel Dahari slowing down in the middle, just about getting through. I don't know how he squeaked through the exit, but the sideways Rajcock is just more than enough to bring out the yellow. And I believe, Francisco, you have the other look from the car. It was not Gabe Cazzola.
Yeah, it was Donovan David in the number 26. He goes sideways through the grass, and he clipped the grass on the restart zone. That's what sent him into it in the first place, and I ultimately took him away from that wreck that ended up happening in turns 1 and 2. So a lucky break there with the caution flag to get him bunched up.
So with a quickie, we'll try and get back to the green flag inside the final 10. And we are just inching toward another race that ends in SAAC Cup Series overtime. And watch the driver right behind the race leader. It is Jonathan Juergensmeyer. The 00 tonight has been relatively quick, but he's maintained position inside maybe the top 15 or so. He started tonight in the top 3, or rather that is Moreno, but he started back in 20th. So it's been a huge charge up for the field for the 00 of Juergensmeyer this evening. And now with a shot to capture what would be his first win of the season, and just trying to add on to the several top 10s that he's built up this year. First 2 top 10s of the year at Daytona and Michigan. Picked up another top 10 at the road course in Sonoma County, California. And Juergensmeyer running off of a slightly decent Iowa Speedway race where he talked to us on the Post Race Show, looking for what could be win number 1 of 2025.
He could, and he is definitely one of those sleeper picks. He can come out here, put in a good show, get himself an opportunity. He did that at Pocono last season, season 14 of Slide Job, and won in a fantastic 3-wide photo finish with Oscar Enriquez, and was able to take that win away. And it was a good result for him. Actually, no, it was Enriquez that took the win from Jurg. I'm sorry, Jurg, for mistaking that one. I know you probably haven't forgot about that finish, but still, he's had good runs. He's shown he could have good runs. You can remember in 4Y, he had a top 3 run at the Charlotte Roval. That was probably one of his most notable runs of his rookie campaign. So Juergensmeyer has been proven that he can run well. He can be fast. If he can close the deal, then it can certainly give him a good opportunity to make a consistent run. But I don't know. Now that Maggio is restarting behind Moreno, I think he can be one to watch. It's always better. I've always found it better to restart behind the race leader rather than next to the race leader.
Well, Juergensmeyer, all you got to do is give him time, and he will settle comfortably. That's what happened in 4-wide in the late stages of that season, and it's happened here in SAAC Cup Series action with many of the seasons that he's run. He does have 1 win to his belt. Talladega Super Speedway back in mid-April of last year. So it could be a over 1-year winless streak for Juergensmeyer broken if he's able to beat Moreno to the charge and try and hold on to second. But remember, we saw Maggio outside of the front row. It didn't pan out for him because that inside car just got a huge run into the first corner. So Juergensmeyer needs to beware of either a faulty restart where he's got to hold up the armor and pray that the rest of the field behind him doesn't pick up and take that position away, or he's able to at least get back to third and try and fight Maggio at his own game. All the drivers in the front 4 trying to one-up each other inside the final 8. that will circuit around this Texas Motor Speedway with a chance at either another different winner or the same Moreno getting back to victory lane. Through the restart zone, Moreno's up and away. Jurgensmeyer fails to keep pace. Maggio down the bottom. 8 laps to go.
And this is what I was talking about getting that better launch from third. And now he clears for second, and now he can try to see what he can do about Ethan Fonseca and a better chance. There's some 3-4 wide action through turn 1. Cars getting into the outside wall. 4 wide with the 54 of Nathaniel Tolman going all the way to the inside. They're trying to work it out with Rivers Jones and Alex Schumacher. There's some contact further back as the 4 wide nearly remains in sideways. Goes to 55 of Fidel Fabian. They keep it straight. We're still under green.
How about that save from the
rookie?
rookie?
Your Bascom gets turned.
And now there's trouble. Bascom turned from P17. He's into the wall. We're going to stay green for now as he loses the track position. 7 to go. Now they're 3 wide up the road.
And there goes Schumacher to the inside. A big battle just inside this top 10 with Connor Trafari. And Trafari gets turned.
Trafari in trouble. He's in the wall. He'll save it.
Oh, and around goes Ellis Wells. Big crash in the front straightaway. Cars hitting
all
hard.
coming apart.
Up and over.
Rivers Jones up in the air. Traber Burns, James Thurston, and the rest of them pile in. And it is an absolute mess off of turn 4.
Rivers Jones went into the air and went up and over. Oh my goodness.
And there is his car totaled. His return from the 1 race suspension. It looks like the message is very clear. He's going to be out of this race. Late on in the going, we'll try to go for a late race restart. And this was an ugly crash, Francisco. Here's a look at it off of what's going to be turns 3 and 4 here. And by the way, there had been at least 3 other separate incidents with Trafari, with sliding cars. Shockey Tarpley had saved it. Fidel Fabian had saved it. There's Trafari in the background, and it's contact with Ellis Wells up the road and the 54 Nathaniel Tallman. Oh my goodness.
That is a hard hit right there, right in that curve of the quad oval. But very similar to where Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin's contact from Charlotte happened. It's just where that wall turns. There's the trouble to Trafari. We'll try to get that at a later moment, but here, look at this onboard. This is nasty. Oh my. Very lucky to be in a sim.
Maybe for about 45% of that, he was seeing black from the nighttime sky. That is an ugly hit, a hellacious crash. And we'll get a better look at what transpired with the Sonoma winner of Connor Trafari. Another race that seemed well with the strategy, but has turned for the worse inside this final segment. So there is that bright green, black, and white Chevy as he's working in front of Nicholas Baumann. And I'm not sure if there's contact. I believe there is with Baumann right about there. So there is contact in 3. Trafari does go up. It's registered contact, and he saves it, but that's when literally the mess ensues right in front of him, and Trafari has to get away from the flipping Rivers Jones. Trafari peeks through the middle and just about gets through, but it's Nathaniel Tallman. Of course, Jones involved in that, and many cars that will be over in their attempts at getting a good finish here at Texas. That includes a return for James Thurston, shut out by the curtains.
And that's a great way of putting it, Kenneth, because you said it right there, registered contact. There wasn't any physical contact between the 9 and that 81. So very unfortunate for Trafari, who that wreck looked awfully similar to the same IOL wreck he had just last week. So wild set of circumstances all going on in that brief moment in time. Big wrecks, numerous cars out of this race, towing to the garage. And just like that, when we started with 41 cars, right now, on the racetrack and on the lead lap, it looks like we have approximately 22.
So the attrition is hit. Remember, we had just about 34 cars on the lead lap in the maybe first half of this race. But again, no crash has been as big as that tonight. So that will take out a bunch of big names. It will force the leaders to hold out under yellow. And again, we are still inching towards a potential SAAC overtime restart here from Texas that will end this race outright. Let's see if we can talk to Rivers Jones, who gets involved in that big crash before we get to the green flag. And Rivers, thank goodness it's iRacing, because that was a hard hit. You went flipping down the front straightaway. Just tell us what you saw there off of turn 4. It seemed like many things transpired before really that crash registered.
Yeah, I was just going, and then I see them, the 57 and the 54 wrecking below, and I figured they're gonna stay down there. And the 54 did not stay down there, so he shot up the track, and I just had nowhere to go, and then I was along for the ride.
So I know that it's a return from the Indianapolis race suspension. You come back into the All-Star race next week in Kentucky, hopefully. So what is your plan to try and reinvigorate this season after what's been kind of a shaky couple of weeks?
Just I gotta get back in the rhythm. Honestly, I hadn't really raced the next gen car that much since the update, and I haven't really raced much since Indianapolis. So I gotta do some more laps. I think I gotta get kind of back in the game here. But yeah, it's been a rocky season for sure. But I think we can definitely get it turned around.
Well, Rivers, we really appreciate the time. Tough break here at Texas Motor Speedway, but hopefully things turn around very soon. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So Rivers Jones out of this race after the huge crash down this quad oval that is cleaned up and ready for cars to be settled through the restart zone again. This time on a generic 2-to-go restart. This is not overtime. It is official. Moreno will fight Jurgensmeyer. Battle for second at turn 1.
The Straw Hacker struggled to get going well. It really stacked up the outside lane, and Duncan Full gets sideways.
He'll be sideways, does he? Save it, Trevor. Haley sideways as well. And they'll hold on to the race cars for now. We'll stay green. We'll try and chase for the white flag. Jurgensmeyer down the bottom in turn 3. Moreno with one more wrap around this Texas Motor Speedway for the 4th win.
And this is exactly what Ethan wants to see. It's Jurgensmeyer and Maggio side by side for the 2nd place position. They're continuing to go at it as AJ Hyder with the 4 tires has made his way up into 4th, but he won't have enough time. Michael Walls trying to challenge with Quincy Strawhacker. All this in the backside of the top 5. But right there is the 92, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, after getting the win after a post-race penalty at Indianapolis, is able to stave off the attacks and captures his 4th win of the season. Moreno wins from Texas.
An absolute drive by the 92 car, and it's a 4th race victory of the 2025 season. What a campaign it has been for the Californian, who has refused any denial this year. And it's a 4th race victory after Indianapolis, in which he finished 2nd and told us later on that not the way he really wanted to win. Wasn't confident at Iowa, picked up a 3rd anyway. And tonight at Texas shows out on a 2-tire call late and hangs on in front of his good friend Steven Maggio. 4 race victories this season. It seems like nothing can stop Steven Maggio right now as he tries to push on to Moreno, and the motivation is certainly growing. Moreno is an unstoppable force. Checkered flag from Texas, the winning moment for Ethan Fonseca Moreno.
He has really gotten used to this brand new setup, these brand new cars for the next gen. Was not a huge fan of these cars prior to the update. He was definitely a bigger fan of the Xfinity and even the truck cars, and struggled with the next gen. Eventually started getting some time with it, got better with it, but certainly ever since the update, Ethan has been on another level, on another tear, and has taken his game to another level. 4 wins on this young season as we go to the All-Star race next week, and eventually we'll come back with our mid-season challenge, looking like the absolute favorite for the championship right now, with being the only driver to win more than 1 race, and that's with 4.
He's trying to get into Texas victory lane. It's going to take him a little while to do so. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but Moreno has been on a tear, and you're right. And, you know, they usually say that drivers, the best drivers, are ones who can adapt very quickly. When this next-gen update hit the iRacing waves a little while ago, it took a long while for drivers to really get acclimated to what this car was all about, what the setups were all about, and generally how to feel this race car properly. Again, Moreno has put that foot forward, and he really has strided with great respect and great speed along with it. Moreno will park onto the start-finish line. His 4th victory of the 2025 season comes tonight from Fort Worth, Texas. Well, let's get a look at the unofficial race results. After 117 laps, we were close enough to an official overtime attempt, but an organic 2-to-go restart gives Moreno enough time to spread away and get his 4th race victory of the season. Steven Maggio going to lock up a P2 effort for the 2nd consecutive week, 1 spot short of the checkered flag for the defending champ. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer is going to get his best finish of the 2025 season in 3rd. We'll talk to all 3 of them before we close out our coverage tonight with AJ Hyder, Iowa Speedway winner, locks up another great top 5 finish. And Michael Walls, the 24 car, has been strong all night long, and he caps it off with a good points-paying effort. Quincy Strawhacker as well rebounds from a couple weeks of pretty bad luck for the 49 car. Nicholas Baumann in 7th. Alexander Schumacher, top 10 for the first time. Big congrats to him. Cody Rivera's league owner is 9th, and Larry Miles, who we saw a while ago, made that daring 4-wide move down the back straightaway. He'll end up as the last car in tonight's top 10.
And Gabriel Tahari with the front end damage recovers nicely into the 11th place position. Shockey Tarpley will finish in the 12th spot. Ellis Wells will finish in 13th. Amir Bascom recovers to 14th. Andretti Robinson down to 15th after his early strong performance. Brandon Thomas finishes 16th. Connor Trafari with the late issues finishes down in 17th. Fidel Fabian in his debut rounds out in 18th. Donovan David will finish in the 19th spot. And Trevor Haley, after numerous restart issues and struggles, will finish in the 20th spot.
Back in 21st is where you'll find Declan George. Connor Zola going to be 22nd. 23rd for Wyatt Roberts. 24th for Malachi Drake, who had been involved in several carnages tonight, several cautions in tonight's event. And then behind them, Jason Ratchcock, Gabe Cazzola found crashes relatively late in the going that kind of took them out of race contention. Duncan Fall in 27. James Thurston returned to the series with flare and fire in the early segment, but crashes late basically took him out. Ollie Reeves is going to be 29th, and Traver Burns rounds out the top 30, one of these last cars on the lead lap.
Nathaniel Tallman in his debut finishes 31st and involved in that crash with Rivers Jones, who went up and over. We talked to him and he's all right in 32nd. Christopher Robinson in 33rd. Jaron Wilson 34th. Brian Lorenzo will finish 35th. Jamie Wright in 36th. James Billmore looked like he had a rocket early on, finishes 37th. Nicholas Badimlik will finish 38th. Justin Rott in 39th. Brad Skowinski will finish 40th. And I believe our last car of the grid tonight will be the number 39 of Nicholas Borowski, that it rounds out our 41 car field from Texas Motor Speedway, Kenneth.
A huge field from Fort Worth, Texas, and we are now joined by the now 4-time race winner this season, Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Ethan, is there anything that can stop you right now? It seems like whether the confidence is there or not, whether things have changed alternatively, you find your way to the front brute force way, and tonight it is a dominant performance inside the final few to capture this win tonight. What does it mean, and how successful have you found this season? It seems like it's treating you very well.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good luck here to start off. This one I felt like this was a little bit more lucky. It was kind of handed to me there with the track position and all that, but you know, win's a win, and we got 4 now. So, you know, just gonna keep trying to rack them up, and yeah, just another good completed race. Good points again, so just gonna extend the lead, and yeah, I really I didn't expect this, because this is honestly one of my worst tracks, but because of the conditions and the way the race played out, it just kind of just came to me. So, you know, we'll take it for sure, and you know, on to the next one.
There was that typical 2-tire call between yourself, Maggio, and a couple of others inside the top 5. The yellows certainly helped, but the restarts, the pressure was still very much there. How were you able to keep that composure, stay relentless as always, nail those restarts, and keep your track position when Maggio seemingly looked like he wanted it aggressively? Jonathan Jurgensmeyer was there, and guys were relatively close as you guys were getting near to overtime.
Oh yeah, I thought I was gonna fold, honestly, because I was getting nervous myself. I had my heart racing and shit. I was like, oh, sorry. But yeah, I was getting like really nervous and started to get like a little twitchy on the pedal and stuff. And I was like, man, I'm really about to give this away, bro. Somehow, some way, it's gonna go the other way around. But you know, just stuck with it, and you know, was able to come away with it. I was trying to. Sorry to Steven. I was definitely trying to give some slipstream to Jurg there, just to help my chances to win there. But you know, just had to do what I had to do there at the end. So yeah, good win overall. Good race with those guys as well.
And 2 things from myself, Ethan. First, what are your thoughts, and what are the message you're going to send to Jaden Porter after tonight's race? And secondly, waiting for that 8-ball, man.
Well, oh my bad. Well, Jaden sucks because he didn't show up. He joined the call literally as the race was starting. He showed up and he's like, "Oh, I want to play college football instead." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And you joined the call to talk this whole time too? No, but anyways, he still sucks. Juan too. Juan got locked out of his house. Like that's crazy, bro. My teammates are. I don't know what to say about them this week.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Well, we
You
didn't
folded too.
even know that lore about Escamilla being locked out of his house. He can join tonight's race. That is wild. Brand new developments here on the KBueno Racing Network. You are hearing it first. But Ethan, for how this season has gone, did you ever expect it to tally this way, especially this early on? We're only going to be at the All-Star break next week at Kentucky, but you seem to be the most dominant driver. And since the next gen update, out of this group relatively, you've been the man with the foot forward at all times. So did you ever expect it to go down this way? And what could that say for the Ethan Fonseca Moreno of the midseason bracket and then Eliminator Chase later this year?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a huge surprise to myself because this is definitely. I used to really despise this car and everything about it, and I've progressively gotten better as time went on, and I guess since this update has came out, it's kind of just went my way, and been also kind of relearning to put together races, and strategy and all that. So um, I did take that huge break in the middle, like kind of a couple months ago, but kind of forgot everything. But yeah, it's just it's crazy to me, at least because like I said, the car and all that. But just looking forward to keep his momentum up. Hopefully, it doesn't just dissipate. Hopefully we can carry this into the playoffs.
Well, Ethan, I hope you're looking forward to another slight fine as well for cursing on air. We saw Steven Maggio do it a couple months ago. You did it a bit tonight, so just a little bit of unseriousness there. But on behalf of all of us here at the KBueno Network, congratulations on your 4th win of the season. Things like the momentum seems to be continuously riding high. So on behalf of all of us, congratulations. And who do you want to thank before we let you bounce?
Shout out to you guys in the booth. Put on a good broadcast. I wish everybody else would keep cleaner. But good race to everybody else who was around me. Steven, Jared, Hyder, those guys everybody who was I was racing around. And shout out to Jaden because he sucks. He didn't show up because he wanted to play college football. Like, I can't say the word, but anyways. What else? Mission Tortillas for being on the car. And yeah, that's it.
Well, Ethan, congratulations on the win here tonight from Texas Motor Speedway. It'll be a good All-Star break. Hopefully we'll see you at the Bluegrass State next Thursday night. But until then, congrats on tonight's dub.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ethan Fonseca Moreno on camera for just the 2nd time this season, and he continues to put it on. 4th victory of the year, and we'll tally back to the next driver who finishes 2nd for the 2nd consecutive week. That's Steven Maggio. Francisco, you're with him.
And Steven, once again, at the end of the race, it was a battle with a familiar foe. You versus Ethan, like we've seen plenty of times before. And this time it's once again Ethan coming out on top. You both took 2 tires on that critical pit stop. What more did you feel like you needed to try and pass him for that race win?
I feel like I needed to qualify. Didn't set a lap because I wasn't paying attention. And then sat behind him on every strategy call of the race. I feel like I hit every strategy call correctly again for a 3rd race in a row. So at least I got that going for me. Doing pretty good with the strategy in this car, but we both stayed out. And man, my camera is really laggy right now. But yeah, we both stayed out, and you can't pass in the dirty air. And we couldn't get a run long enough to go green. And then I had that issue, but I don't even think that mattered because we both took 2 tires again, and then I was right behind him again, and we don't go green. So I don't really know what more I can do. Just qualify. I mean, he did everything right, and he had the track position to do it. And I feel like I also did everything right, and just had to be okay with sitting behind him for this race because we're just not getting the runs long enough to really race. It just feels like we're getting strategy, and then as long as you know your restart, you're not gonna get past. So I really feel like that was the only difference. But yeah, props to Ethan. Good win for him with the strategy and everything. Like what's that saying? Smart minds think alike. So
Absolutely right. And now we move ahead towards the All-Star race and the mid-season challenge. So as we approach now that All-Star race at Kentucky and that mid-season challenge, what are your thoughts on those particular events as we edge closer towards the playoffs?
Yeah, Kentucky's fun. I think at least before this update, it was loose, which I like the loose cars. They're pretty fun. Even though I feel like I'm a tiny bit better in the tight cars, but tonight was loose and that was really fun as well. So um, I was a bit of a not really too bad, but I was a bit of a complainer, hoping this race was going to be day and then it was night, but it was still really loose, so I was happy about that. And I think Kentucky will probably be the same way, so that should be fun. And we're racing for money, so that should be good. And hopefully it's a good race because I mean Cody, he puts so much work into this and he does such a good job. And the racing's just not playing out the way he deserves it to. So I really hope that we can have a good race there, especially since he's putting extra money into it. And yeah, I think I'll probably be the second seed for the tournament, so that'll be good too. I'll probably have a good chance there, and just hopefully I can have clean races and make it to the end.
We'll get through that All-Star race and then that mid-season challenge. It'll be fun to cover and fun to participate, I imagine, from your side, Steven. And before we let you go tonight, anybody want to give a shout out to the Hell Snakes is having for you and your number 51 team?
Yeah, just shout out Cody again. I mean, it was a rough race, so I'm sure I've been there, running a side job. I've been there, and it's rough when you have a rough race like this, and you question why you're doing it and everything like that. So shout out to him. I really truly feel like he does a good job and he deserves better, and I really hope we can get better for him. And shout out Ethan on the good win, and you guys in the booth always do a good job, and watch it back. And not shout out to my camera because I don't think it's my camera. I think it's actually my Wi-Fi, but it's super blurry, and that's about it.
Appreciate the time you take with us, Steven. We appreciate everything you do, and congratulations on your top 5 finish tonight. We'll hope to see you out at Kentucky next week racing for that cash.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
That's Steven Maggio. Runner-up finishes back-to-back here in this series. It has been close, but not quite there for the Season 3 champion of this series. We'll roll back to the third-place finisher, and we are joined by Jonathan Juergensmeyer, your best finish of the season. Man, what a run it was for you tonight. I mean, through the top 10, you were trying to work your way through. The car was fast all night long. What did it feel like there as you guys got that final restart and trying to chase for the race dub?
It felt pretty good. I mean, obviously, it's going to be really hard to pass Ethan at the end there because, I mean, he's really quick, plus the combination of dirty air. It would have taken a real challenge. It would have taken a well of a restart. But yeah, I'm fine with third. I mean, started 20th and was up and down throughout the field, and to come home third, it feels pretty good.
What did you face particularly behind the wheel? Because, we kind of talked about in the post-race show last Thursday about what changes this car brought to the sim and how widespread it's been on drivers trying to figure out what it was like. Did it seem more comfortable for you with given this track surface, much cooler than maybe what we anticipated, and how it felt particularly in the traffic at the front of the field?
I thought it felt better. I thought this race was actually pretty fun. One, because I really like Texas, but two, I felt like the grooves are like, you could run so many different ways that you could be fast while still trying to avoid the dirty air. And I think that's how I made my way through the field so many times. And I thought it was a pretty good race, but I mean, when you get to the front, it's going to be so hard to, especially at the end of these at the end of this race, where, I mean, we're not getting runs longer than 5 laps. It's gonna take it. It's really hard to pass the leader who's in really clean air. So, I mean, that's one thing that's still bad about the package, but I feel like it's still really racy. I feel like the car feels really good, at least for me. So, I mean, that's what I take out of this race, at least.
Well, it's a great top 3 effort, your best finish of the season, and another top 10 added to what's been many over the course of the campaign so far. I'm sure that's adding up well in the chase for the Eliminator chase format that we'll have later this season. But looking ahead, Kentucky next week, the All-Star race, the following week at a road course in Portland. So how do you try and manage that, knowing now the situation of the midseason bracket madness and how you're going to attack this second half of the regular campaign?
Yeah, I really like these tracks coming forward. Kentucky. I mean, I love Kentucky, but it's an all-star race, so I mean, it's not a points race. Portland, I'm really good. Or I'm not really good, but I'd say I finished well on road courses. So, I mean, these tracks coming ahead. Let me see who I'm facing in the bracket challenge. It is Gino Mero. So, I mean, he's pretty good at road courses, so that's gonna be pretty tough actually. But yeah, I like these tracks coming ahead. I'd like to see how far I could get in this bracket challenge this season. Last season I actually made it pretty far and then had to miss a race, so it was all for nothing. So yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Well, Jonathan, it's a great finish tonight. Glad that we're talking to you on this segment of the portion of the broadcast instead of just the post-race show. It's great to talk to you as always, Jonathan. Congrats on the third place finish tonight. But before we let you go, any shout-outs you want to deal out before we let you bounce?
Shout out to all the guys, Steven, Gabriel, Justin, and Rivers. Shout out to Ethan on another win. Shout out to Rivers again because he made this paint scheme. Shout out to Austin Duran because he made me a couple paint schemes that I did not get to race today, but I will be racing soon. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, Jonathan, on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, congratulations on this podium run here from Fort Worth, Texas, and we'll see you at the All-Star Race and the Bracket Challenge next week and then a couple of weeks from now.
Yep, thank you guys.
Jonathan Juergensmeyer captures the best run of his season so far in third from Texas, trying to get by Steven Maggio. What a race it was until the end of it, Francisco, in what could have been another chance at overtime, but we do extend the race, where we do end up in this race with just the distance we needed. We did not need to extend it. And now we move forward. Next week, we go All-Star Racing. It's going to be for a cash prize, so a lot of the risk-taking will be involved when we get down to that mile-and-a-half track that NASCAR hasn't raced in many years. And then Portland, second road course race of the season, is going to be at a brand-new racetrack to the iRacing service relative to a lot of the others we'll see this year. Portland will be the start of that mid-season bracket challenge that we'll have. It's going to be exciting.
Going to be really exciting once we get to Portland to talk about that mid-season challenge and everything that comes with the matchups and trying to see who advances, who goes through, and just the kind of racing we'll see. Because if those drivers that are racing against each other are near each other on the racetrack towards the end of the race, that could be very wild, especially when we move to that second round over at Talladega. But before any of that, we have to, of course, go through our All-Star race, which will be next week on August 7th at the Kentucky Speedway track. We haven't seen that much of in recent years on this on the channel, and especially with these next gen race cars. So we're gonna get Kentucky here very soon, and it's gonna be very fun to see how it goes and see what we make of that All-Star event.
And just a reminder that we've got a lot more than just the SAAC Cup Series coming up for you on the KBueno Racing Network. Our upcoming schedule includes the semifinal race of the Drop in the Hammer Cup Series. They will end their round of 8 this Sunday at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, now named the Echo Park Speedway, a super speedway affair that will decide the other 3 drivers that will join, now 2 drivers that will join the likes of Brandon Banks, Lawson Peel and Company, most likely that will make the championship 4. So that coverage comes your way this Sunday at around 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, that All-Star race from the Kentucky Speedway takes the track next Thursday night, August 7th. We'll have that coverage right around 8:30 to 8:35 p.m. Eastern, right here on KBRN. And then back to Drop in the Hammer Cup Series for the finale at Homestead in Miami, August 10th. You will not want to miss it as 4 drivers try to square off for the inaugural series title there. That'll happen again August 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel.
And hey, you know what I don't see on there? For everybody watching, make sure you tune in on August 11th, which will be the debut of the KBRN Truck Series.
That will be huge. August 11th, Monday night. We hope to see you there. KBRN Truck Series action, a celebration of this great channel that started back in 2020, will be a lot of fun after we close out the DTH Cup Series campaign the day before. So that would do it on our coverage of the SAAC Cup Series from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. A grand thank you to all of those who make things happen at this series, for Cody Riveras and the entire hardworking admin team that makes this series possible. And on behalf of all of the great people involved at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Byer, Keelan Belsha, Eli Comerford, and as always, for my great colleague in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacallao, I am Kenneth Bueno saying goodnight from Texas Motor Speedway as we crown Ethan Fonseca Moreno a 4-time race winner this season.